Chapter 1. See Circle Calendar 1500. The towering execution platform in Logue Town. As the execution knife penetrated Roger's body, the square fell into a brief silence, and then burst into cheers. Some people cheered because the evil Pirate King was finally executed, and more people cheered because of his last words before his death. Do you want Lao Zi's treasure? If you want it, I can give it all to you. Go find it. I put all the treasure there. Cheers erupted in the square. On the wall outside the square, 9-year-old Dylan was writing on the wall and scanning the field. Redhead Shanks, Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo, Hawkeye my hawk, Sand Crocodile Crocodile, Dragon, Buggy, Moria. Some were expressionless, some were smiling gloomily, and some were wailing. Dylan stretched out his hand to catch the raindrops falling from the sky, looking at the strong men who would become world famous in the near future. The era of great pirates has begun. Half a month later, the unknown island of East Blue. Kid, this is the Marine branch, what are you doing here? A bearded Marine stopped a thin figure. I want to join Marine. Join Marine? Marine is not a place to play house. Where is your family? Go back quickly. Dylan shook his head, I don't have a family. Marine at the door was stunned for a moment, seeming to understand something. In this era, killing, looting, war, oppression. Everywhere. Looking at the somewhat silent young man in front of him, whose clothes were shabby but not dirty, the guarding Marine nodded and said, wait here for a moment. When he walked out of the base again, he was followed by a tall Marine. May I have your name? Dylan. Why become a Marine? Why? Dylan thought for a moment, maybe it was because after he traveled through time, he found that his new body had nothing else to rely on except good physical fitness. After witnessing Roger's execution in Logue Town, Dylan selected this regular and inconspicuous Marine base from the map. As for why not stay in Logue Town? There will be a lot of trouble there in the future besides Smoker, so it's not a good choice. And in addition to East Blue, people from all over the world and even the Grand Line often go to Logue Town to pay homage to Roger's place of beginning and end. Joining Marine means you can get systematic training, and as long as you have talent, you can get enough resources. Even if you can't awaken Conqueror's Haki, you can still greatly improve your combat effectiveness with Marine 6 styles. Forget it, Iron Body. For peace. Dylan said with certainty, looking at the Marine flag flying in the center of the base. Peace. Following Dylan's gaze, Marine also saw the flag. It was that flag that shocked and protected the sea. Register him as a handyman. He can participate in basic training and be responsible for some chores. Yes. After saying that, the tall Marine turned around and went in. The Marine who was at the door waved to Dylan. Follow me, kid, we will be companions from now on, ha ha ha. See Circle Calendar 1512. Major, this department has summoned us to report that the tracks of the Red Hair Pirates have been found in East Blue. Shanks. Dylan subconsciously reached for the knife next to him. Is he coming to East Blue? Redhead, why did he come to East Blue? See Buggy? Going to Logue Town for nostalgia? As one of the future 4 emperors, it is impossible for Red Hair not to know that Goa Kingdom is Garp's hometown. Then why did he go to Windmill Town? Looking for Garp fencing? He probably doesn't have this strength at the moment. Or go to Shimotsuki village? What do you mean by the base commander? Just report the trajectory, no head-on conflict required. I know, tell the base commander that I will be away for a few days. Yes. After coming out of the base, Dylan had already changed into regular clothes. His long white hair was scattered casually on his shoulders. His height of 2 meters and 4 meters made his figure look even taller and slender. There was a hint of coldness on his handsome face. The black scabbard was inserted casually on his waist. Dylan put the handle of the knife in one hand and put his hand in his trouser pocket as he boarded the ship to the Kingdom of Goa. The sea area of Goa Kingdom. A small boat floats on the sea. In the distance is a similarly small pirate ship. The flag on the ship is a skull with a scar on its left eye. Boss, there's someone in front of us, it seems he's coming for us. Yasop picked up the telescope and looked over, describing the other person's appearance. There is only one person, no flag, no marine uniform, and carrying a very long knife. Oh? Are you a swordsman? The red-haired man walked from the cabin to the deck wrapped in bloody gauze and looked in the direction Yasop was looking. As if feeling his gaze, the people on the boat raised their heads at the same time. There doesn't seem to be any goodwill. Shanks, shall I go? Said Ben Beckman, who was smoking a cigarette at the side. Wait a minute, Shanks raised his right hand, lean over and take a look. When the two ships approached, Shanks stood on the side of the ship and looked at the boat floating beside him. It seems like you are waiting for me. Dylan raised his head without touching the knife lying sideways. Yes. Come up and chat? Or should I go down? Dylan picked up the long knife and appeared on the deck of the red-haired pirate ship in a flash. Bring the wine. Hong Chi waved his hand to stop the crew members who were about to make a move, and then interrupted their thoughts of admonition. This is a fine wine from my hometown. It tastes different from East Blue's. Do you want to try it? After a large bowl of strong liquor went down his throat, Shanks asked with a smile, how was it? Dylan nodded without comment. Upon seeing this, Shanks put down the big bowl in his hand and his expression became serious. So, why are you waiting for me here? Marine. Hearing the word marine, the others' expressions instantly became tense again. Yasop even raised his spear slightly, but was suppressed by Ben Beckman's hand. Ignoring other people's little moves, Dylan looked Shanks directly in the eyes and asked, why do people like you come to East Blue? Isn't the New World not enough for you? It's just traveling around the world. This is normal for pirates, isn't it? Shanks looked at Dylan with a smile, but his expression was not relaxed. Dylan looked Shanks straight in the eye, not seeming to believe this. Shanks looked at him and then laughed, sorry, as for the deeper reasons, I can't tell you for the time being. After hearing the red-haired answer, Dylan stood up and looked around, don't stay in East Blue for too long. After speaking, Dylan jumped off the side of the ship. After the boat traveled a distance, Shanks seemed to remember something and stood on the side of the boat and asked Dylan, what about you? Why are you in East Blue again? Dylan did not look back and raised his hand with his back to Shanks, like you, I won't stay here for too long. After Dylan's boat disappeared from sight, Shanks was still looking at the sea in a daze. Shanks. Ah, I'm fine, he's such an interesting guy. Turning around, Shanks grinned at the crew, I didn't expect that there are so many interesting people in East Blue. Is it really the hometown of the captain? East Blue. Yasop, who was also from East Blue, laughed, East Blue is called the weakest sea. Before anyone else could react, Shanks looked stunned, and Ben Beckman's hand holding the cigarette froze in the air. Lucky Lu asked while munching on the bones, what's going on? You too. Shanks smiled bitterly and said nothing. Ben Beckman took a heavy drag on his cigarette and said, in the past, we all thought that the reason why East Blue was weak was due to root problems in Garp. Now it seems. Call. After exhaling a thick puff of smoke, Ben Beckman said, in addition to Garp, East Blue also hides an amazing guy. Chapter 2. Returning to the branch, I happened to meet the oncoming base commander. He is no longer the tall man he was before. More than 10 years have passed and many things have changed. The original base commander, including the Marine who led him in, are no longer here. The current base commander is a strong man named Hans, who was transferred only half a year ago and holds the rank of senior colonel. Dylan, Hans looked at Dylan who was about to walk in and stopped him, are you looking for red hair? Dylan nodded, I glanced at him from a distance, but there was no contact. After all, he has been very popular in recent years. Hans agreed. Shanks, this guy, has really been very popular in recent years. Although there is a lot of gap between him and the older generation of strongmen in terms of power, it is said that he also has a place in the New World. After Roger's death, the pirates' arrogance not only failed to be suppressed, but intensified. In today's New World, people call strongmen such as Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Beasts the emperors of the sea. Nonsense. By the way, Grand Line has been under increasing pressure in recent years, and the headquarters has issued a summons order. I heard that you refused before. Hans didn't know much about Dylan's past. Only some older veterans vaguely remembered that this guy had been in the branch for a long time. Even his military rank reached the level of major through small accumulations. Major needs to go to the headquarters to be awarded the title. Your awarding has not been officially completed yet, this time. I will go there this time, when? Dylan looked past Hans and looked at the marine flag fluttering in the wind just like before. Hans breathed a sigh of relief. This guy has a very high prestige in the branch. In many cases, Dylan's orders are even more effective than those of him, the commander of the campus base. As soon as possible. Considering the distance, I will give you 3 months. If possible, I will report it to the headquarters. Hans once studied Dylan's information, and the information left by the base commander at that time showed, Adams Dylan. Place of birth unknown. Orphan. Joined Marine at age 9. Calm personality and physical fitness penultimate. Advocate justice and peace. Then there are the past base commander's additions about Dylan's military achievements. There are dozens of densely packed pages, and although they are all about pirates with small bounties, the volume is too much to handle. During his tenure, he also personally added nearly 4 pages of record achievements to Dylan. What a monster! Looking at Dylan walking away, Hans muttered. Shimotsuki village. Dylan stretched after stepping onto the island. Unexpectedly, this place is right on the flight path. The people around him gave him strange looks when they saw his long black knife. Are you here to challenge Kojiro too? Dylan followed the sound and looked over. It was a young man with a knife on his waist. No, just came to take a look. In the original work, Shimotsuki village is inextricably linked to Wano Kuni and the Revolutionary Army, and the squinty-eyed Kojiro seems to be no simple character either. Before Dylan could finish speaking, a rough voice suddenly came from behind him. Hey! You knife thief! Dylan didn't seem to hear anything and continued to walk forward. The voice behind him burst out with anger. What about you? The guy in white clothes is going to leave after stealing my famous sword. Dylan paused, turned around and looked over. A Ronin with a shaved head was staring at the black scabbard on Dylan's waist with bright eyes. Ronin licked his dry lips. This must be a good knife. He could even feel that even if it was hidden in the scabbard, it couldn't hide its edge. The onlookers stepped aside when they saw him. This guy is a famous Ronin in the area, and his IAI skills are as fast as lightning. But he is a rogue, and I don't know why the rogue has such a talent for swordsmanship. Is this your knife? Dylan raised his eyelids casually and looked at the man with Tsukio's hair. This hairstyle disgusts him. I'll give you 5 seconds to get out of my sight. A cold voice sounded in Ronin's ears. Not only was Ronin not afraid, but he laughed, then leaned forward slightly, holding the handle of the knife on the left side of his body with his right hand. In that case. A flash of red light flashed, and Ronin suddenly felt a cold feeling on his neck. Then he felt dizzy and saw a scene that was very puzzling to him. Who is this? Why are you wearing your own clothes? Still holding your own knife? This time I really encountered a knife thief. There was an exclamation from the crowd, and Dylan turned away without a care. I'm so sorry, it's been the blood of these trash fish all along. There was a slight vibration from the black scabbard on his waist. Ishin Dojo. Kojiro slowly stood up when he heard the noise outside and walked to the door. Dylan was already standing in the yard, and a large group of people stood outside the gate, seemingly waiting for something. Kojiro, who was wearing glasses, smiled at Dylan and said, "Excuse me, guest." Dylan looked at Kojiro's weak look and suddenly thought of something interesting. I heard that guys with squinted eyes are very strong. The people watching outside the door uniformly said oh and showed an expression that was indeed the case. The guest was joking. Kojiro didn't seem angry at all and still asked politely, "Excuse me, guest." Dylan smiled, "Just kidding, I'm not here to cause trouble, I just want the curator to help me look at the knife." Oh. Kojiro looked at the long knife on Dylan's waist. "Inside please, guest." Seeing that there was no fight, the people outside the door left disappointed. With a dark scabbard and a dark red handle, Kojiro held Dylan's long knife in both hands and frowned slightly. As if with a trace of expectation and a trace of entanglement, Kojiro slowly pulled out the long sword. A burst of bloody air hit the face from the black-red blade, and there was even a faint streak of blood escaping from the blade. Snapped. Kojiro immediately put away the blade and handed it back to Dylan. Shura, one of the 12 skills of the Supreme Sharp Sword. Dylan took Shura and gently touched the scabbard, and the bloody smell in the air disappeared instantly. Does it have any characteristics? Kojiro looked at Dylan with some surprise. As for the characteristics, haven't the guests already made full use of its characteristics? Is that so? Dylan stood up and greeted Kojiro slightly, "Thank you." After Dylan left, a big bead of sweat dropped from Kojiro's forehead and he swallowed. Shura was actually made into a black sword by him, and he actually surrendered to him. After calming down, Kojiro returned to his original smiling face with narrow eyes, waved to the screen next to him and said, "Come out, were you scared just now?" Guyana with short hair and a green algae head poked their heads out from the side. Father, that person just now. Ah, you are still far away from him, but, if you want to become the world's greatest swordsman in the future, I think, he must be one of your biggest obstacles. Just now, Shura just showed a hint of aura, which almost made the two of them faint. Even they, who are usually very strong, couldn't say anything big at this time. Gu Yuna clenched her fists tightly and turned around to leave without saying a word. Upon seeing this, Green Algae Head gritted his teeth and said damn it, and then ran out. Kojiro looked at the two of them with a smile on his face. The greatest swordsman in the world. Kojiro still felt suffocated thinking of that seemingly unknown man. After verifying Dylan's identity, the patrolman guarding the small port saluted Dylan with a bang and watched Dylan go away. The people had previously confirmed that it was the Ronin who tried to snatch the man's weapon, which triggered the duel. Although a duel to the death is not allowed by law, but, if it were an attack on the naval headquarters major, there would be no problem. On a medium-sized merchant ship, Dylan was resting on the side of the ship. The lookout on the mast suddenly shouted, "No, it's a pirate ship." After careful observation, the tone of the lookout's voice was distorted. It's the Creek Pirates. Chapter 3. Toledo Nordsaberu. The main ship of the Creek Pirates, the huge three-decker sailboat and the Black Panther on the bow are a nightmare for all merchant ships in the nearby waters. Young men, Lord Crick's name will definitely be resounding throughout the world. Oh. Sir Admiral, there is a merchant ship ahead. Merchant ship? Creek grinned, how dare there be a merchant ship in the place where I, Lord Creek, are? Guys, here's the fun. Oh. It took less than 10 minutes for the huge Toledo Nordsaberu to dock next to the merchant ship. The merchant ship simply did not dare to turn its rudder and escape. If the Creek pirates encountered them, ordinary merchant ships would not be able to compete with them in terms of horsepower and escape. And if you try to escape, he'll kill everyone on board when he catches up with you. Begging for mercy may not be useful, because in addition to Creek, there is also that cold-blooded and cruel man on the ship. Ghost Manajan. I just hope that man is not on the ship today, or will not participate in this robbery. Dylan squinted at the helpless sailors and businessmen with desperate faces. Creek? Hasn't this guy gone to the Grand Line yet? In the past, this guy's activity area was not near the branch where Dylan belonged, and I didn't deliberately look for him, but now I think about it. East Blue does have such a number one figure. But he seems to have called himself the Overlord of the East Blue later on? Or the King of East Blue? Dylan stood up with a knife in hand. The sailors and businessmen who were kneeling on the deck beside him screamed in fear when they saw the young man who was taking the boat standing on the bow with a weapon. Hey, stranger! Come back quickly, you will kill us. Dylan tilted his head and thought for a moment, I remember there was a guy named Ajin on his ship. He seemed to be very cruel and never left anyone alive. Can you survive by kneeling here and praying? Hearing the name Ghost Man Akin, the people on the deck turned pale for a moment, but they still had a trace of fantasy. Maybe Ghost Man Akin is not on the ship today? Stranger, we are kind enough to help you, so don't. Ah, thank you for giving me a ride, as a thank you gift. Everyone on the merchant ship flashed before their eyes, and the young man who was originally standing on the bow disappeared. There was a burst of hope in everyone's heart, but more of it was despair. In this sea area, the Creek pirates have never suffered a defeat, whether against other pirates or soldiers. On the top deck of the Toledo Nordsaberu, Iron Wall Baloo was BG the shields on his arms. Ehahaha! I will become the Admiral's strongest shield. Really? How strong is it? An indifferent voice sounded clearly in everyone's ears. On the bow of the huge panther stood a man wearing white clothes and holding a long knife. His long white hair shawl was flying in the wind. Iron Wall Baloo's head didn't seem to be working very well, and before he could react, Ghost Manajan walked out first. Who are you? The Toledo Nordsaberu was at such a height that someone who could appear on the bow of the ship without a sound was not necessarily someone to be trifled with. Marine. Only then did Iron Wall Baloo react and rushed in front of Ajin with a strange cry, it's just a marine, how dare you? Chi Dylan gently pushed Shura's blade with his left thumb, and a red ripple flew out from the blade, which was only an inch long. Just marine. Dylan jumped off the bow of the boat and walked past the Iron Wall Baloo, which had been divided into two parts from forehead to crotch. Ghost Manajan swallowed, but did not retreat. Marine, you want to fight with the King of East Blue? Hey! Dylan narrowed his eyes, and a strong wind spread from around Dylan's body. The pirates around him suddenly felt a strong impact, and then felt dizzy. Then they all lost consciousness. Hundreds of crew members staggered to the ground like grass blown by the strong wind. Only Admiral Creek and Ghost Man Aiken were left on the deck. They could barely stay awake, but they were already sweating profusely. Hey, what is this? Kirik, wearing golden armor, barely stood up straight. Don't underestimate us. Marine. I'm. A line of blood flew past, and two heads flew high into the air. What kind of king are you? After jumping to the top of the mast and inserting Creek's head on top, Dylan returned to the merchant ship. Let's go, they won't come. You. Just as the first mate on the merchant ship was about to speak, the lookout on the mast shrank his pupils. Yes, it's Creek's head. He's dead, he's dead. After hearing the lookout's words, the first mate looked at the young man in front of him with a somewhat indifferent expression in surprise. He did disappear just now, but it was not long before the Creek pirates. Set sail! Set sail! The sails of the ship slowly rose, and Dylan held Shura's sword hilt in his right hand as he looked at the Toledo Nord saber that was getting further and further away from his sight. King of East Blue. A crimson light flew out from the stern of the ship, directly splitting the Toledo Nord saber in the distance into two parts from bow to stern. East Blue doesn't need anything like this. The stunned crew members slid from the sloping decks and cabins into the sea like dumplings. At the top of the mast, Creek's head still looked into the distance with an angry and frightened expression. Logue Town. Dylan walked leisurely on the stone road, and after passing here was Upside Down Mountain. Of course, he didn't plan to walk up the Upside Down Mountain. Marine's unique warships could cross the calm belt. He's here just to look back on the past. Hello. A familiar voice sounded from behind Dylan. Red-haired Shanks stood alone, holding a bottle of wine in his hand. What a coincidence, I meet you here again. Are you going to the Grand Line? Shanks looked at the upright Dylan. This young Marine put a lot of pressure on him. Although the two of them had never touched each other, Shanks felt an aura from him that he had never seen before. It was different from all the feelings Marine gave him. Whether it's Garp's perseverance or Zephyr's decisiveness, they are completely different from him. Even the new guys like Kizaru, Aokiji, and Akainu within Marine have fundamentally different auras from this seemingly indifferent man. He is more like an abyss, deep and calm, but no one knows what is hidden under the abyss. It's a coincidence. Are you here to reminisce? You cried like a mess here back then. Dylan glanced at Shanks. His attitude toward the man was far from disgust, but he didn't exactly like it either. It's just that it's not a good time to start a fight with him right now. Then. Shanks was stunned for a moment, recalling that day more than 10 years ago, and his expression instantly dropped. Ah, it's true. Were you here then? Judging from your age, you must have been in your teens. Back then. Shanks raised his head. Have you never thought about going to sea? Going to sea? Dylan pressed Shura's knife handle and gave Shanks a meaningful look. Are you going to be a pirate? Hearing Dylan's unkind tone, Shanks smiled and said, being a pirate is also. A thief is a thief. Dylan interrupted Shanks coldly, whether it's a bandit, a pirate, or a thief. A thief is a thief. Anyone who blindly pursues personal freedom and robs the weak, no matter who he is, no matter what dreams he has, it can't change the fact that he is a thief. Don't talk to me about dreams, freedom, partners, your freedom. The air around Dylan began to twist. It's based on the pain of the weak. Black thunder and lightning visible to the naked eye surged out from around Dylan. You. Shanks's pupil shrank, and the same black thunder and lightning emerged from his body. When the two momentums collided, the dark clouds in the sky began to spin. When the momentum of the two people dissipated, some small cracks appeared on the surrounding walls. This is a town, and I have no plans to fight with you for the time being, but redhead. Dylan looked at Shanks sharply. Don't cross the line, otherwise, not only will your ship be missing in the new era, but your dream. I will also kill it with my own hands. After Dylan left, Ben Beckman and others came over from the street. The big meaty leg that Loki Lu always held was gone, and Yasop was holding the spear tightly. What a terrible guy. Yasop glanced around the corner, has the qualification of a king and cultivated conquerors to such an extent. Marine. Chapter 4. Marine Ford. Dylan, who officially completed the award, walked out of the office area. "Ah la la, here comes a great newcomer." A lazy voice sounded from the side. This tone. Aokiji? Kyuzen Vice Admiral. Dylan bowed slightly. "Are you coming to the headquarters to confer a title?" Aokiji pushed up the blindfold on his forehead and looked at Dylan with interest. "Yes." Kyuzen suddenly looked around, and then said to Dylan, "Want to have a drink?" "Does this guy drink?" It seems that Zephyr did drink it when he died later. "But can I drink alcohol in the headquarters?" Following Aokiji into his office, Dylan glanced around. The furnishings are simple, even crude. There are only two things that stand out, one is a comfortable lounge chair, and the other is his exclusive plaque. "Lazy Justice, ah la la, you and I actually have different personalities." Aokiji picked up 2 bottles of wine and threw one at Dylan. "I believe in lazy justice, but you are very diligent." Dylan took the wine, popped the cork, and took a sip. "You know me." Aokiji took a similar gulp of wine, and then sighed, "What a man's wine, it tastes terrible." After muttering for a while, Aokiji formally looked at Dylan. "I have nominated you in the past few years, but it seems that you have refused? Why did you agree this time? Has Aokiji nominated himself?" Dylan frowned. "Is this information from within Marine? Or Garp?" Seeing Dylan's confused look, Aokiji took the initiative and said, "It's Mr. Garp. He said that every time he goes back in the past few years, East Blue feels very peaceful, and he doesn't even need to clean it too much. We spent a lot of time investigating, it was not easy to find you. You're doing very well in East Blue. How about it? Are you willing to join me? I'll give you considerable autonomy." Aokiji. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral, Admiral Alternate. Black Arm Zephyr's disciple and Garp's little fanboy. The 3 Marine Admirals in the future are Aokiji, Kizaru, and Akainu. Akainu's attitude towards pirates is too rigid. Although his style is similar to his own, there are fundamental differences. Kizaru is an old monkey, his words and deeds are very suspicious, he is submissive when he hits Straw Hat, and he punches hard when he hits Zephyr. He might be the 2nd and 5th son of the Revolutionary Army. Although he has the convenience of being close to Vegapunk under his command, he might be sold out one day. As for Aokiji, this guy is lazy, but he still has loyalty, otherwise he wouldn't have saved the big enemy smoker from Brother Ming. "I'll kill them, but you'll take the blame." "Ah, that's what I said, but you can express it more tactfully. It's really nerve-wracking. I'm often assigned some tasks from above." Aokiji raised his head and took another sip of wine. "So you agreed?" Dylan spread his hands. "Why don't you agree? If I follow Sakazuki, I might have to kill people every day. I still have a lot to do." "That's it." Aokiji didn't ask Dylan why he didn't mention Porisalino. "But before that, I still have some things to deal with. If it's quick, I can come back in half a year. If it's slow, it may take 1 or 2 years. You're such a busy man, do you need my help?" Dylan shook his head. "No need. If you're unlucky, it's possible that you won't be able to come back. As a person with abilities, you'd better not get involved." "Energy person? Can't come back?" Aokiji rarely showed a sad look. "Are you going to some dangerous area related to the sea?" "Forget it, since you don't need my help, I won't ask. Just be careful and use the phone bug to contact me if you need help." 2 years later. Sky Island. A burst of violent thunder and lightning filled the sky, entangled and surged in the air for nearly an hour before slowly dissipating. Ganfor looked at the figure slowly walking out of the temple, leading everyone to lower their heads slightly. "Lord Thor." Gan.Fall. Compared with his appearance 2 years ago, Dylan's appearance at this moment does not seem to have changed at all, but appears more refined and profound. Below the temple, the residents of Sky Island looked up at the man who was tall and straight but as deep as the abyss, with awe in their hearts. No one knows when he came to Sky Island. When he appeared, he defeated the original god Ganfor with absolute power, but he did not kill Ganfor and other priests. When he found the golden bell hidden in the clouds and rang it, the Sky Icelanders and Sandians, who had been enemies for hundreds of years, stopped fighting and worshipped him as a god together. This thunder god is not harsh, and can even be regarded as a merciful god. Sky Island's affairs are all represented by Ganfor. Ganfor was originally the god here. At the same time, he is deeply trusted and loved by everyone. I'm going to be away for a while. Sky Island will be taken care of by you for the time being. Cut off the route from Qinghai before I come back. If you encounter any intruders, please contact me with a phone or a phone bug. It's Lord Thor. When everyone raised their heads, the figure above the temple had disappeared. Ganfuer took a breath and turned around and said, seal the temple and cut off the road from Qinghai. Below Sky Island. Gaia Island, Magic Valley Town. As soon as Dylan walked into a pub, he saw a pink figure drinking at the bar. Next to him stood a tall man with a large sword hanging from his waist. On the other side, an old man with a strange face was questioning a group of gangsters. That kind of place is so boring. The Don Quixote pirates are the pride of our North Blue. We just want to be pirates like you. Then have you ever killed anyone? Dylan walked to the pink man and sat down beside him, picked up a glass of wine and took a sip. A little BD like you wants to make a living with this flamingo. As soon as the word flamingo came out, the expression of the tall man standing nearby changed. He was questioning the gangster, and the weirdo with a snot-covered face also turned around. But the flamingo sitting nearby grinned, phew 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 phew, who are you? Marine. Marine? Should. Diamante had just put his hand on the hilt of the sword when Doflamingo stopped him. Stop, Diamante. Tisk. Shishibukai is really troublesome. Looking at Diamante who was stopped by Doflamingo, Dylan looked disappointed. If this guy takes action, he can justifiably kill him, and even the entire Don Quixote pirates. After glancing at Diamante who was standing aside, he turned slightly to look at the yellow-haired gangster with a face full of excitement and some shock. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever killed anyone? Or did you come here with sticks to play house? Bellamy raised his hands and laughed wildly. Killing? Of course we have killed. We sailed all the way from North Blue and what we did most was killing. We are the ones who want to join the Don Quixote pirates. Ha 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 ha. Very good. As soon as he finished speaking, the air seemed to freeze. Doflamingo, who was sitting next to Dylan, stiffened for a moment, then turned his head mechanically. Hey, isn't it? Before he finished speaking, a series of dazzling lightning flashes emerged from the bodies of the gangsters, and Torbal, who was standing next to Bellamy, was startled. As the gangsters screamed, Dylan slowly stood up. Dover. Dylan stood up and walked over to Bellamy leisurely, as if he were taking a walk in the garden. From beginning to end, Doflamingo never said a word, let alone stopped him. Bellamy and the others were left to wail and twitch in the thunder and lightning. Now, look, even your idol doesn't dare to move in the face of absolute strength. Bellamy struggled for a moment, yelled, and hammered his hands on the floor. Damn it! Give you another chance. Have you ever killed anyone? If you are bragging, I will let you go as if you were an ordinary gangster. If there is really blood on my hands. Dylan's expression darkened. The surrounding air shook, executed on the spot. Bellamy raised his head with difficulty and looked at his idol, Heavenly Yaksha Doflamingo. What awaited was suffocating silence. Bellamy glanced at the man standing in front of him, gritted his teeth with his last bit of strength and said, No. No. Snap. Dylan clapped his hands, that's how you behave. Just go back and forth from wherever you are. Oh, that's right. Dylan, who walked to the door, turned his head and glanced at Huang Mao, who was languishing on the ground. You said, you don't like those pirates who daydream? Tisk. It's a pity that your idol has the largest possession among pirates in the world. The most arrogant dream, you are really not worthy of being on his ship. After saying that, Dylan pushed the door open and left. Squeak squeak, the wooden door of the tavern swayed in the wind, as if it was mocking Bellamy's arrogant declaration, and also seemed to be scorning his idol. Doflamingo stood up with a sullen face and walked towards the door, followed closely by Torbal and Diamante. When he walked to Bellamy's side, Doflamingo paused. He's right, you. Seriously unworthy of my ship. Chapter 5. Marineford, Aokiji's office. Doflamingo? There are some issues with that guy's identity, and his method of becoming a Shishibukai is also very unusual. But these are all agreed by Marie Joyce. Aokiji spread his hands and said, I don't want to worry about that much. Dylan glanced around. You have been promoted, Kyuzan Admiral. Aokiji scratched his head and said helplessly, there is no way, the Grand Line is not peaceful now. Speaking of which, Have you finished what you want to do? It's done. Dylan held out his hand. A ball of lightning gathered in the palm of his hand. Go get a fruit. The moment he saw the thunder, Aokiji's originally lazy expression disappeared. Thunder fruit. This Logia fruit is among the best in the Devil Fruit illustrated book, and Aokiji recognized it instantly. Yet. Dylan nodded, this is also my biggest goal in coming to Grand Line. You. Aokiji straightened up slightly from the backrest, but then slumped down again. You can just get it yourself. Ah, Logia, I really envy you. You are so envious. Aren't you also a Logia fruit? Although he thinks so in his heart, Dylan still prefers the thunder fruit that he has been waiting for a long time. After all, Raiden has the ability to fly an extremely high movement speed, and its lethality is also very powerful. In addition, tempering his body with thunder and lightning can also continuously strengthen his body, so that he will not be completely suppressed by the sea and sea stone like other ability users. You have nothing else to do when you come back this time, right? Aokiji slumped on the sofa with some distress. I don't have anyone here to help me, and I have a lot of things to do myself. If you are free, can you do some tasks for me? What the hell do you have to do? Your job is to follow your Lolita on a bicycle? Or sunbathing on Garp's boat? Okay, but as a major, it's hard for me to stand up for you, right? A major came to kill Admiral? That's a bit unjustifiable, right? Military rank? Ah. Aokiji scratched his hair. This was really not easy to do. Although Marine was based on birth and strength, officers at the general level still had to value their actual combat merits. Now is not the time after the Summit War a few years later, when Marine's top combat power shrank and special troops were recruited from all over the world. Yes. Aokiji's eyes lit up. He rummaged through the drawer and took out a reward order. Go and kill him, and I will apply for a military rank for you. Dylan took a look at the reward order. Bloody Hook Roads has a bounty of 550 million Baileys. Is there such a person? Where did this guy come from? Why haven't I heard of him before? Yes, you are still young, so it is normal to have never heard of it. You were a minor figure in a terrible pirate group a long time ago. A scary pirate group? Little people? Dylan touched his chin and looked at the photo on the reward order again. No matter how you look at it, you must be in your 50s or 60s. At such an old age. It's not the guy on Rock's boat, is it? Allah, it's Rock's. Aokiji's eyes widened. Do you know Rock's pirate? How old are you? It really is? If you put it this way, he is indeed a nobody. Compared to guys like Whitebeard, Golden Lion, Kaido, and Linlin. Golden Lion. This guy is still hiding in the sky studying monsters. Do you want to kill him in advance? Normally, these fruit-powered users are locked up rather than killed, which can effectively limit Devil Fruit's abilities. If you kill the ability user immediately after catching it, it will be like the Maramara fruit, where other pirates got hold of it not long after the previous owner died. This situation is obviously something neither Marine nor the world government wants to see. Lion Fruit's words. Forget it, let's put it away for now and go look for it when I have time. It won't be too late to kill him then. After all, he is just a major now. Well, just a major. Where is he? Dylan pointed at the man with a brutal look on the reward order. This photo should have been captured recently. Then Marine should also know his whereabouts. The latest tracking was in Alabasta. You can go there and have a look. If there is any new information, the headquarters will use the phone bug to notify you again. Alabasta? Isn't that Crocodile there? Crocodile should have already failed in his challenge to Whitebeard and is now preparing to find Pluton. I'm leaving. Dylan put the reward order in his pocket and left. In the office, after the sound of Dylan's footsteps disappeared, Aokiji took off his blindfold. How does he know where Devil Fruit is? And Rocks? It's really troublesome, forget it. The first half of the Grand Line, Brother Defu, how come you haven't heard of that guy named Rhodes before? Mom actually values him so much? She even specially asked me to come to Paradise to pick him up and take him to the 10,000 Kingdoms. Charlotte Defu, who had two balloon-like objects on her shoulders, glanced at her brother beside her. Well, it's normal that you don't know. He's an old guy. He used to be one of Mom's and his crew's crew. Mother's ship. Queen Mother's anthem? Why haven't I heard of it? Not here. Defu looked at the paradise, which was much calmer than New World. It's a ship from a long time ago. In terms of strength alone, no one is stronger than them. Alabasta. Rainy ground. Unlike other areas of Alabasta, the Rain Land, just like its name, is moist and refreshing. At the Rain Feast Casino, the tall reception girl's eyes lit up when she looked at the tall and handsome Dylan. In addition to being tall and handsome, this man's attire, sword, and aura clearly meant he was a wealthy man. Several reception girls tried their best to show off their figures to Dylan, hoping that the man in front of them would choose them to accompany him. Feeling their fiery eyes, Dylan paused slightly, and then looked around. You. Dylan raised his hand and pointed at one of the blondes. The blonde was overjoyed, and when she came to her, she pinched Dylan's arm with the 2 lumps on her chest. Guest, what do you want to play? After speaking, he straightened his back, causing Dylan to feel a friction on his arm. Oh ha 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 ha. A burst of wild laughter came from the distant hall, and Dylan raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, it's here. On the sea, the ones famous for their intelligence capabilities are of course the Big Mom pirates, followed by Morgans and the CP organization. However, Marine's intelligence is equally powerful and has wider coverage. Not long after Dylan left Marineford, a detailed piece of information about Bloodhook Roads was passed to him through the image bug. It includes this guy's hobbies and behavioral characteristics. Gambling is one of them. In the rocks back then, this guy lost his right hand because of gambling. I'm so stressed. Rhodes, who rarely won a big victory, laughed and threw chips on the table. Seeing this, others followed suit. I'll keep it small. An equally arrogant voice came from across the table. Dylan held the cigarette in his mouth crookedly and threw out a handful of chips. When Rod looked at him, he exhaled a puff of smoke provocatively. Hey? Ha ha ha, let's start quickly. Rhodes licked his lips, let you know that Uncle Rhodes' luck will always be undefeated. 10 minutes later. All the people who were standing behind Rhodes have disappeared, but the young man opposite him is full of people. Hey, are you out of money? It's really boring. When did you Yan start entertaining these poor people? Does Dylan gamble? Of course not. But it is easy to control the direction of the dice with a small current. Just when Rhodes stood up and was about to leave, there was a burst of cheers from behind. The young man was throwing the chips in front of him around. Come on, these are all treated by the uncle with the severed hand. After saying that, the young man laughed and said, why don't you thank Uncle Broken Hand? The people around were stunned at first, and then burst into laughter. Thank you, Uncle Broken Hand. Rhodes' body froze, and the dark-armed color was ready to cover the hook. No. Rhodes swallowed. He had managed to escape Marine's pursuit, and he would never be discovered again in a place like this. Back then, even a man like the captain might have been defeated by Garp. Although Newgate and the others look great now. But Rhodes knew that once he was really targeted by Marine or world government, there would definitely be no good results. Dylan in the distance was throwing chips into the air while putting a few of the highest value ones into the blonde's hand. This is a reward for you. I hope you won't be here next time I come. Dylan stood up, stopping the blonde's attempts to follow. Guest. The blonde looked at the white-haired young man walking out of the Rain Banquet Gate, and was a little distracted for a moment. What's the meaning? Generally speaking, if a customer is satisfied with an escort's service, wouldn't he hope to continue using her service next time? When Dylan walked out of the door, the blonde's body shook slightly and she looked at the door with a complicated expression. What a gentle guest. After saying that, the blonde tightened the chips in her palm and raised her hand to straighten her collar. Outside UD City, Dylan stopped. Hey, that iron hook has been following you all the way, why don't you do something? Rhodes walked out from behind the hill with a gloomy face. You guy, why did you lure me out on purpose? Oh. Dylan looked at the vigilant Rhodes in the distance and smiled. Ho? You are quite cautious. Now that you know I lured you out, do you still dare to follow me? Ahaha. Rhodes licked his lips habitually, if it was Sengoku or Garp. No, even if it was guys like Aokiji or Sakazuki here, I would have run away early. But you. The armed color instantly covered the iron hook on his right hand. I've never heard of your name before. What a coincidence. The black armed color instantly covered the Shura scabbard. I never heard of a character like you in the original version. Brother Defu. It's not good. Outside Alabasta, a thin young man ran up to Charlotte Defoe holding a small card with his fingertips. That guy's life is stuck burning. He's dying. Chapter 6. What? Defoe stared at the slowly burning life card, his eyes filled with disbelief. This guy, can anyone kill him in paradise? Or has he provoked those lackeys of the world government? Defoe, who puts his mission first, could not tolerate his own failure. He raised his chest and shouted, "Go ahead at full speed, Mom's mission cannot be failed." Yes. Alabasta. Dylan stepped on the unconscious Bloody Hook Rhodes and dialed the phone bug. A pair of eye patches appeared out of thin air on the phone bug's tentacles, and its originally round eyes turned into dead fish eyes. Ah, is it done so quickly? It's very hard, okay? By the way, I don't need to send this guy back personally, right? I have to go back to East Blue. Marine Ford, Aokiji scratched his head. You can send it to the nearest marine base, but the origin of this guy is not simple. I heard that Auntie is looking for him. You know, Auntie's intelligence network is very powerful. How about? Is there anyone who will take over? If not, I will chop off his head. This guy is not a person with abilities anyway. Rhodes, who was lying on the ground pretending to be dead, swallowed, but his body remained motionless. Is this guy really marine? Are you going to chop off people's heads casually? Wait a moment, if you chop off his head, what if the time comes? So that's what you're worried about? Dylan was stunned for a moment. This guy Kuzan is indeed very loyal. But... Shura's red light flashed, and Rhodes' body and head were separated before his shocked look dissipated. A hole? How dare you? A roar came from the distance, and Charlotte Defoe's lower body was steaming with heat and quickly moved closer. The life card in his hand had completely disappeared, and he happened to see the young man chop off Bloodhook Rhodes' head with a knife. As Charlotte Defoe approaches, an Aladdin-like djinn emerges from his belt. Just use your head to atone for your sins. Demon Slayer. The giant demon swung his sword and struck Dylan with a huge slash. Hey, didn't I tell you to calm down? Do you need me to come over? No, remember to include this guy's achievements. He should be Auntie's third son, Charlotte Defoe. Dylan held the phone bug in one hand and raised Shura in the other. Ding! The huge slash stopped the moment it hit the Shura blade, and then no matter how much Charlotte Defoe and Majin poured in power, the momentum of the slash could not be advanced any further. The Minister Bean of all nations? Allah, he is really capable of causing trouble. Are you sure you don't need me to go there? Are you asking me to cause trouble? You didn't ask me to kill someone? After I chop him off, I'm going to take a month off. Ah. Dylan hung up the phone before Aokiji could say anything. It's rude to disturb others by talking on the phone. Didn't Linlin teach you? You guy. Charlotte Defoe felt shocked when she saw the young man in front of her resisting the demon's attack in an understatement, and did not rush to attack again. Dylan looked at Charlotte Defoe's gloomy look and smiled. Charlotte's family? What? Linlin asked you to take over and go back to give birth to the baby? Then I'm not going to kill your stepfather. A hole. Charlotte Defoe, who was originally very fearful, became furious when she heard Dylan's words. How dare you disrespect your mother? Demon, fine break. Countless small slashes flew out and surrounded Dylan from all directions. Ridiculous. Dylan hummed and held Shura's knife handle in a circle. The crimson sword energy spread out like a strong wind, more violent and more precise than Charlotte Defoe's slashes. The slashes of both sides collided violently in the air, raising the surrounding gravel, and for a while the air was filled with thick dust. Gotcha! Superheated steam. Charlotte Defoe sprang out of the dust with armament haki wrapped around her body, intense heat waves coming out of her pitch-black fists, and the demon beside her also raised her sword high. Die! Seeing that Dylan did not dodge, Charlotte Defoe's eyes flashed with joy and anger at the same time. How dare this guy despise himself so much? You really don't have a long memory. A black arm passed through the smoke and grabbed Charlotte Defoe's fist. Thunder punishment, boom! With a huge roar, a lightning beam several meters in diameter fell from the sky and enveloped the two of them. Hey, it's true. On the sand dune in the distance, Crocodile looked at the huge thunder column with a cigar in his mouth. Are there other guys like this in Marine? After the lightning dissipated, Charlotte Defoe, covered in smoke, panted heavily and supported her body with one hand. The demon had long since disappeared. Not only powerful swordsmanship and haki, but also Logia demon fruit power. No. It's not just that, this guy's fruit ability can easily penetrate his own armament haki, and his fruit ability has been developed to a very powerful level. Bula Charlotte Deifuku, who was caught by Dylan with one hand, saw that she couldn't break free and simply reached into her arms to take out the phone bug. Deifu, what's going on? Why did that kid Rhodes' life card burn? Have you killed him? The moment the phone call was answered, his whole face became chubby, and 2 piles of thick eyelashes appeared on his eyes. Sorry mom, the mission failed, Rod was killed by Marine. Marine? Is there a Marine like that in the paradise? Yes. Charlotte Deifuku raised her head and glanced at Dylan. It's a Marine I've never seen before. I heard him talking to Aokichi. Well, Marine is still as strong as ever. Hey, Marine guy. Want to make a deal? Deifu turned the phone bug towards Dylan. Oh? It's Linlin. What are you going to give in exchange for your son's life? The aunt didn't seem to care that Dylan called her Linlin, but laughed. Well, funny boy, what do you want? Treasure? A famous knife? Or devil fruit? Or I marry my favorite daughter for you? Well, if you want fruit, I will go to Sabayati Archipelago to pick up the goods in 2 months. If the value does not match. Dylan's eyes glanced around Charlotte Deifu's body. I want to take back the price difference. Charlotte Deifu felt a chill in her body when he saw her. This guy. If you are not satisfied with the fruit, then you will definitely cut off some part of your body, absolutely. Well, you are such a greedy brat. But, the Charlotte family's intelligence network is all over the world, and the most indispensable thing is devil fruit. Don't worry, it will be equal to the value of my son. I hope so. After saying that, Dylan let go of Charlotte Deifu. The phone bug also went out. After Charlotte Deifu stumbled away with 2 huge shoulder armors, Dylan turned and looked at the sand dunes on the flanks. What? Do you want me to invite you? A gust of wind and sand blew by, slowly condensing into a human figure in front of Dylan, wearing a black cloak, a greasy slicked back hair, and an obvious scar in the middle of his face. Hey, crocodile, you are so weak and laughable. You guy. Crocodile's eyes darkened. Shalan. The wind and sand slowly dissipated before they gathered. Shura, glowing with black and red light, rested on Crocodile's shoulder. You want to die? Dylan looked at him with cold eyes. You are completely different from the person you were when you were fighting Bullet and the person you were after losing to Whitebeard. Cold sweat broke out on Crocodile's forehead. This guy was definitely serious. He would die if he even moved. A huge feeling of oppression hit him. Although Haki was not exposed, it made his heart palpitate even more. This feeling is even stronger than when I faced Whitebeard. What do you need me to do? Dylan put away Shura and looked into the distance, which was the direction of East Blue. I want you to remember one thing. If you are defeated by some random person in the position of Shishibukai, then I will kill you with my own hands. So, you better be careful, you are so arrogant. Little lizard. Crocodile looked gloomy. In paradise? Defeated? But he didn't dare to retort verbally. The man in front of him looked at him like an ant, and he could feel that if he really entered the battle, he would probably be killed in an instant. After throwing Rhodes' head to Crocodile, Dylan's body turned into a dazzling lightning and disappeared. Crocodile clenched his fists and looked at the direction Dylan left. A hole, if I can master Pluton. Chapter 7. East Blue. Coco West Village. Scare ha 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 ha, lowly humans are born to be dominated by fishmen. You are the first one to be punished by Lord Arlong, for boring love. Arlong, who has a jagged nose, has one hand on his hips and a gun on the forehead of a human woman. Nokago, Nami. I love you. Arlong put the gun against Belmir's head and laughed cruelly. Scare ha 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 ha, under my rule, all the guys without money will die. You understand it all. Lower races. The eyes of the surrounding villagers showed fear and intolerance. Hey! If you love them, shouldn't you protect them? On the road in the distance, a figure slowly walked towards the crowd carrying a long knife. Belmir, with blood spilling from the corner of her mouth, was already waiting for death, but this lazy voice was like a heavy hammer hitting her heart. Inferior. Call out. Before Arlong finished speaking, a white light shone in front of everyone's eyes, and then they saw a huge arm flying up. Damn! Damn it! A large amount of blood spurted out from the severed arm. Before the surrounding fishmen and villagers could react, Dylan kicked Arlong to the ground and pressed Shura against his chest. Higher race? Hey! A salmon fishman holding a wine bottle saw Arlong being knocked down instantly, and quickly shouted, Hey! UBD, our eldest brother is Wang Xiakai. Hearing this voice, Arlong's pupil shrank. Don't mention his name, we don't want to rely on that traitor's reputation. Jinbei? That stupid fat man, I heard that he never left humans alive in the past few years? When I find him, I will beat him and make fish head soup. You! Arlong spat out a mouthful of blood, with no intention of giving in. Scared ha ha ha, damn lower race, you think you can make the great fishman surrender in this way? Cannot. Dylan raised the corner of his mouth, and energy poured in from the handle of the knife. A ripple visible to the naked eye spread out, and the huge impact pressed Arlong's body directly into the ground. The dragon pirates attacked human villages and towns, killed civilians, and all members were executed. Everyone felt their eyes blurred as a black shadow that was difficult to identify with the naked eye shuttled around, and at the same time a subtle cutting sound sounded in the air. When the surrounding sounds dispersed, except for Arlong and an octopus who were knocked into the ground by Dylan, all members of the original evil dragon pirates fell to pieces on the ground. Suddenly, the smell of blood and the fishmen's unique fishy smell filled the surrounding air. Hey, that octopus monster, Jinbei's name can't save you. Why don't you try to lift Rayleigh out and save your life? The octopus fishman Zioba's mouth was like a trumpet and he was speechless in surprise. You. Seeing the frightened octopus with no fighting spirit, Dylan turned around and ignored him, carrying the bloody Shura back to Arlong. What should we do? A higher race, how about you buy your life with money? How much is the life of your hairtail fish worth? 5 pele or 10 pele? Hey! UBD! Despicable human being! The fishman will not give in. Bang bang! Dylan inserted Shura next to Arlong's neck and clapped. What an admirable courage, but a pity. Dylan held the Shura knife handle with his backhand. Black-red sword light rose from the ground. Except for his head, Arlong's body disappeared instantly. Laozi won't accept this. Octopus Zioba, who was standing not far away, was frightened by the sharp edge that shot into the sky, and other humans also showed shocked expressions. Hey! Octopus monster! Dylan raised his foot and kicked Arlong's head towards Zioba. Seeing the ferocious head flying over, Octopus Zioba subconsciously wanted to avoid it, but his body froze in Dylan's eyes, and then he reached out blankly to catch Arlong's still angry head. Go back to the Fishmen Island and tell Fatty Lan and the bastards in Fishmen Street. Shura returns to his sheath, all his sharpness is gone. If Laozi encounters even one so-called advanced race on the sea again, Laozi will raise your Fishman Street. After the crowd had disposed of the corpses of the dragon pirates, everyone else left. Only Ken and Belmere, mother and daughter, stayed where they were and looked at the young man sitting on the stone. Are you? Marine. Jian swallowed and looked at the tall young man in white. Although he didn't attack humans, the aura he exuded just now almost made them faint. Ah, yes, it's Marine. Dylan crossed his legs and placed Shura under the orange tree next to him. So, may I ask who you are? Find someone. Dylan looked up at Belmere, who had pink hair. Belmere noticed the way he looked at her and looked at Dylan in surprise. You came to see me. Well, Dylan leaned against the orange tree and gently held Shura's scabbard. On behalf of myself, I invite you to join my team and return to Marine. Belmere, who has been retired for nearly 10 years, is in a bit of a dilemma. She has been away from the battlefield for too long, and Nami and Nokijo are still young. I am a Marine, not a pirate. I will not force you, nor will I use kindness to coerce you. After all, it is Marine's duty to protect civilians, isn't it? Belmere hesitated for a moment, looked at the frightened daughters beside her, and then said after hesitating, then I join in. There was a loud shout from the side. You must join. Mel, I know this is your dream. Nami and Nokijo will be taken care of by me and the people in the village. Jian, the village guard, said loudly, follow your dreams. Mel, when you become stronger, remember to protect the village. The older Nokijo also reacted. Although he was in tears, he still tugged on the corner of Nami's clothes, walked up to Belmere and hugged her. "Aunt May, thank you for raising us up. Remember to come back to see us often when you return to Marine." Nami also raised her little face and looked at Belmere. "When I grow up, can I take Aunt May's warship to draw navigation charts?" "Really?" Belmere knelt down and hugged her two thin daughters tightly, then turned to look at Jian. "What do you mean by protecting the village? Isn't this a man's job? This is not like you, Mel. Didn't you say that women should be full of courage?" Jian laughed, with a look of relief on his face. "Hey, let me tell you, I went to be a marine, not to go to impel down and go to jail. You don't have to make the atmosphere so sad. You can always come back." Dylan next to him couldn't stand it anymore and interrupted their scene as if they were parting from life or death. Belmere burst into tears and smiled. "That's right. For such a powerful man like you, as your subordinate, I'm afraid it would be very difficult for me to die." Belmere patted the two little sisters on the back to signal them to let go of her, then stood up. "Then, can I ask, why did you choose me?" "Why?" Dylan smacked his lips and smiled at Belmere. "Pirates need companions, and of course Marine also needs them. As for why you, it's because of your courage. I believe this is the most unparalleled potential." Bulo. Hi, I'm Dylan. "Ah, have you arrived in East Blue yet?" Rhodes' head has been sent back to the headquarters for verification. In addition, the headquarters has re-evaluated your merits in East Blue. "Congratulations, Dylan Rear Admiral." "Rear Admiral, just so. Are you disliked? It's really nerve-wracking. By the way, didn't the phone bug say that you met someone from the Charlotte family? How's it going?" Belmere next to her heard Aokiji's nonchalant tone, and her heart was filled with panic. The person on the other end of the phone, it was Admiral of Headquarters Aokiji? Can this man communicate directly with Admiral? I cut him down, but let him go. Let go. Dylan stood up and carried Shura on his shoulders. Let him go. Now is not a good time to start a war with the pirates in New World, so I made a deal with Linlin and she bought her son. There was silence on the other side of the phone, and Aokiji's voice came back after a long time. You don't need to tell me this kind of thing. Dylan laughed. Are you going to Sengoku to report me? If I really go back with Deifu's head, Sengoku will go crazy. Ah, you really know Sengoku-san. Forget it, just let him go. But won't the Charlotte family leak the news? Don't worry, if the news leaks out, I will be expelled from Marine at most, but the Charlotte family will be embarrassed in front of other big pirates. They won't tell it, and the crocodile is not a fool, and he won't dare to tell it. It's good if you understand. By the way, you are the Rear Admiral now. Come back as soon as possible after the East Blue matter is dealt with and replace me. Bulu. Marine Ford. Aokiji looked at the phone bug who closed his eyes and fell into thought. Is he the Admiral or am I the Admiral? Chapter 8. Haki. It's just a name for a power. In addition to being naturally awakened, it can also be obtained and enhanced through practice. 30-year-old Belmere held a cigarette in his mouth and stared at Dylan's right hand, which was covered with dark armament haki. Haki is divided into three types: Armed Color, Observation Color, and Conquerors. Armed Color is the most common and most practical. Observation Color can be practiced, but it requires a certain amount of talent. As for Conquerors, Dylan spread his hands. Only a few people have it. There are many ways to use weapon colors. The first thing you need to master is hardening. Dylan grabbed a large rock and threw it into the air, then stretched out his arms. The rock whizzed down and hit Dylan on the arm. Snap! Not only the arms, not even the muscles on the arms trembled at all. This. Belmere's eyes widened. This is the most basic use, weapon color hardening. Of course, basic use does not mean that it is the weakest. It is still very powerful after practicing to the ultimate. As long as the initial hardening can be achieved, ordinary guns and swords can be ignored. Furthermore, the armor color hardening can be immune to a lot of Devil Fruit's damage, and it can also provide a very intuitive restraint to Devil Fruit. Belmere was eager to try. Really? It's really good. Devil Fruit. I heard that it comes from the power of the devil, and it can actually be restrained. This is the difference between Sihai and Grand Line. As the weakest sea, East Blue not only has no people who know Haki, but also the demon fruit power is very rare. The few people with the fruit's ability are from the Grand Line. In the World End Paradise, demon fruit power is very common. In the second half of the Grand Line, New World, all the minions will have their weapons hardened. Anyone with a bit of respect will play with fire. All in all, Mara fruit, even dogs won't eat it. It is precisely because of the gap in regional strength that even those guys who were defeated from the Grand Line can still dominate the world when they return. For example, things like Crick and Arlong. Buzz-o. Dylan, who was distracted, felt the change in the atmosphere around him and looked towards Belmere intently. Do you really have this kind of power? Belmere was surprised when he saw that his hands were covered in black, and then laughed heartily. It seems that I am indeed very talented. Of course, your talent is definitely not bad, and the most important reason is that this power has always existed in your body, but due to the limitation of cognitive threshold, you are not aware of its existence, so you have not gone discover it, master it, and use it. Seeing Belmere dancing with his fists, Dylan thought for a moment and then said, in future battles, try to use firearms without using them. Although both pirates and marines have a sniper position, that requires a very unique skill. Talent and strong observation hacky support. Of course, Belmere retreated from the hacky covering on his arm. With this kind of power, ordinary firearms can indeed be given up. Next, you need to think carefully about what fighting style you want or are suitable for: close combat? Swordsmanship? Or are you sure you can control the power of devil fruit? Belmere had heard about this, but then shook his head. It is said that after eating devil fruit, you will become a landlubber. As for swordsmanship, I am afraid that I don't have that kind of talent. So I still hope to fight with my fists. Okay. Then settle the children, and then prepare to follow me to the headquarters to receive systematic training. Naval Headquarters has special explanations and training methods for the use of 6 forms and haki, which are more systematic and professional than Dylan's own teaching. The top players except Blackbeard teach have already emerged, and the red-haired guy will officially become a member of the Emperor of the Sea in a few years. Although Marine has overwhelming strength when facing a certain force alone, if it faces more than 2 forces at the same time, Marine will be passive or even at a disadvantage. Moreover, their Marine duties also restrict them from being able to attack on a large scale, and most of the time they can only passively defend. Admiral, indeed has too many restrictions. No wonder Mr. Garp has been unwilling to be promoted throughout his life. Before coming here, Dylan's understanding of the world was very limited. After all, most of the time from God's perspective, he followed the Straw Hat crew. When he was a boy, he used to like the optimistic and fearless boy very much. However, as a young man, Dylan began to get tired and began to have some doubts about the protagonist. I hope that day won't come. Dylan took out a cigarette from the cigarette case left by Belmere and took a deep drag. After all, he was also the person he liked very much when he was a boy, but he was a little annoyed by shouting One Piece and One Piece all day long. Happy boy? Pinning your hopes on these mythical legends? Obviously everyone in this world has the opportunity to obtain almost godlike power, but why do they still have to pray for charity from fate? I really don't understand. Ah, sir, he seems to have a lot on his mind. Belmere stood not far away with his hands in his trouser pockets. Arranged. Dylan did not explain, but stood up and looked behind her. Village policeman Jian and sisters Nami both looked at him with some fear. Although this man looks very handsome and lazy, the coldness and determination he displayed when he executed Arlong and his group just now are not something that ordinary people can bear. Dylan waved to Nami and told her to come to him. Nami nervously grabbed Nokijao's clothes, her body slightly stiff. Go Nami, Mr. Marine is a good man. He protects us all, doesn't he? The older Nokijao encouraged Nami, and Belmere and Aegean next to her also looked at her with encouraging eyes. Nami pursed her lips tightly before walking up to Dylan and calling out restrainedly, Mr. Marine. I heard that you want to draw the most complete and detailed map of the world. Everyone else thought it was Belmere who told Dylan, but Belmere on the side looked puzzled. He had never said anything about the condition of his children, so how did this man know about it? Yet. Nami's eyes lit up when she talked about her dream, and she took out a half-finished map from behind and handed it to Dylan. Dylan looked at it. He is indeed very talented. Although it is not as professional and detailed as the internal maps of Marine, it is already very rare for self-learners. After carefully folding the map and returning it to Nami, Dylan said to the village policeman Aegean, I will ask the headquarters to prepare some professional books for her to study. The sisters will leave it to you for the time being. There will not be too many in East Blue. A powerful guy appears. If a dangerous person invades. Dylan took out his spare phone bug and put it in Nami's hand. This is my phone bug. It can dial my number directly. If I encounter fatal danger, I can arrive within 2 hours. Mr. Marine, can I ride on a warship to draw maps of the world in the future? Of course you can. Dylan stroked Nami's head. Not only is it possible, we will also make an atlas of the address you drew and print your name on it, so that the whole world can share your joy. Yet. Nami grinned and took out an orange from his trouser pocket. Brother Marine, this is what I treat you to. I'm in East Blue Cocoa West Village. Yes, send a warship to take me back. Ah, can't you fly? Will you answer it or not? Aokiji stared at the phone bug, suspicious again. Also, prepare some drawing-related books to bring with you. The more and more detailed the better. No. Also, Kokoyasi Village is designated as a protected area. In addition, Captain Mouse, the head of the branch base here, is very problematic. Please ask the supervision department to verify it. Good. Bulu. Marine Ford, Aokiji looked at the phone bug with his eyes closed, confused. Sengoku-san wouldn't hang up the phone like this, would he? Forget it, it's really troublesome. After giving Dylan's request, Aokiji took off his blindfold again. Nico Robin has entered the Grand Line, do you want to check it out for yourself? What kind of life will she have? Chapter 9. Marine Ford. Dylan, who completed his ordination under Aokiji's leadership, finally had a cape and an independent office. Belmir's file was also transferred from the Marine Department, and with Aokiji's promotion, the re-enlistment procedures were completed smoothly. And was reappointed to the rank of Major. What is this? Can this be considered Marine's justice? BD, what is the difference between this and a pirate? There was a roar in the huge corridor, and Aokiji rubbed his forehead in distress. Ah, it's really... Bang! There was a slamming of the door, and a man with short white hair and a cigar in his mouth walked out of the office angrily like a ruffian. Smoker, are you arguing with the people in the inspection department again? Don't you think about why you are still a major? Because he is too weak. Dylan looked at the guy in front of him who was walking towards them with steps that he didn't recognize. One Piece's biggest enemy, Smoker, the shame of the Logia fruit. Military rank. Smoker puffed out a large puff of smoke nonchalantly. Walking up to the two of them, Smoker looked at Dylan, who had put on a rear admiral cloak. Are you the guy Kuzan has been thinking about? You look very thin. Ah, this guy. Aokiji glanced at Smoker with a headache, and then said to Dylan, he is my friend, be gentle. A whole Kuzan. Who are you looking down on? Smoker was furious. Although he was still only a major in the military, he was a Logia-capable person and had a lot of merits. However, he was stuck in the rank of major for several years because he was too willful. After all, Mad Dog Marine isn't called him for nothing. But Dylan didn't give Smoker time to react. Before Smoker could finish speaking, a dark arm grabbed his collar. Bye, hey. Ability is not omnipotent. Dylan grabbed Smoker and pressed it against the wall. The powerful armament haki completely suppressed Smoker's elementalization. You guy. Smoker pulled out his sea stone. Kuzan told him that this guy is also a Logia user. Although haki can catch himself, as long as the sea stone touches him, it can instantly imprison his ability. The 10 hands whizzed down at Dylan, and Aokiji's eyes next to him narrowed slightly. Sea stone? How to solve it? Dylan held down Smoker with his left hand, tightened his right hand, and the dark weapon color was instantly covered. Sea stone is also not omnipotent. The dark right hand moved towards the 10 hands inlaid with sea stone without fear. What? Seeing the top of his 10 hands being grabbed by Dylan, Smoker's anger disappeared, leaving only a look of shock. He had tried touching himself with a sea stone, and it basically knocked him out instantly, and his abilities were also imprisoned. Click. There was a cracking sound from the top of Juju. Smoker's shock turned into panic, and Aokiji's eyes narrowed slightly next to him. Hey, is it true? Snapped. Dylan held the palm of Ju's hand and turned it, and he broke off the part inlaid with sea stone. Then Smoker and Aokiji saw Dylan's palm clenched, and pieces of tiny metal powder fell from his palm. Sea stone is indeed very hard. Dylan put down Smoker, who was completely sluggish, studied the small sea stone in his hand, and then threw it towards Smoker. Give it back to you, let's build a new weapon. Newcomer? What an amazing skill! Ha 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 ha, if Kyuzan hadn't been recruiting all day long, I would have kept him in East Blue. This would save me a lot of trouble. At one end of the corridor, Sengoku, Garp, Akainu, and Kizaru walked towards the three of them side by side. Very powerful. Have you ever considered joining me? I have learned about your past. Your style is very similar to my own. You should not be under the command of a lazy guy like Kyuzan. Akainu looked at Dylan. He admires Dylan's attitude towards pirates very much, and this guy Kyuzan. Humph. Ah, Sakazuki, are you robbing someone openly like this? Ha 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 ha, Garp laughed while stuffing donuts into his mouth. Forget it, Sakazuki, this kid is different from you. Sengoku glanced at Garp with some confusion. This guy has basically not stayed in the headquarters in the past few years, and rarely interferes with the affairs of the headquarters. Why did he directly reject the opinions of Sakazuki, who is the admiral, this time? Humph. After hearing Garp's words, Akainu didn't bother and snorted coldly before walking through the crowd and leaving first. Oh, it's so powerful and scary young people today. Kizaru looked at Dylan with a crooked mouth but didn't say much. He greeted Kyuzan and left. As for the great miscreant smoker? Major, Akainu and Kizaru ignored him. It's not that they don't know each other, but Smoker's reputation within Marine is not good, and his military rank and strength are not enough for the two admirals to take him seriously. This severely wounded Marine Mad Dog's pride. Am I really weak? A light flashed under Sengoku's lens. Although Smoker's strength was not good, as a Logia fruit user, he still had potential. Don't let him give up on himself easily. Smoker. You are also a student of Zephyr. You should know that there are many ways to fight. In this sea, almost no one can develop taijutsu, swordsmanship, haki, and fruit to the ultimate at the same time. So you have to choose what you are best at. Ptahaha. There are still some. Isn't that what Newgate and Linlin are like? Garp laughed and interrupted Sengoku's words, then turned to look at Smoker, but Sengoku is right. If you want to become strong, you need to recognize yourself first and find your own path. After all, you are outstanding in all abilities. There are only a handful of monsters on the sea from ancient times to the present. Garp glanced at the shura that Dylan carried around his waist, and thought silently, maybe there will be one more now. After listening to what Garp and Sengoku said, Smoker fell silent. Although the Logia fruit was powerful, his level of development was indeed very poor. In terms of physical skills, because of the fruit's ability, he had almost no Marine 6 styles training and 0 sword skills. Haki. So far, he has not even mastered the weapon color coverage, and still relies on the sea stone embedded on the top of his 10 hands to fight against the ability users. I understand, Mr. Garp, Marshal. I will think carefully about my path. When facing Garp and Sengoku, even as arrogant as Smoker, he humbly lowered his head and accepted their opinions. Sengoku turned to stare at Dylan. What about you? Dylan didn't understand what Sengoku meant. To be honest, after you accepted Aokiji's recruitment and came to the headquarters and obtained the Thunder Fruit, the headquarters conducted 2 rounds of investigations on you. It's confirmed that you were born into a merchant family in West Blue. Later, your family's merchant ship was attacked by pirates, and you lived in East Blue. You have done a good job in East Blue over the years, maintaining the style of Garp. Let East Blue still continues to be called the weakest sea. Dylan smiled and didn't answer. East Blue is not as weak as expected. During his more than 10 years of cleaning up, he has encountered many potential guys. And he can't guarantee that he can completely clean up East Blue. After all, the sea area is so big and he only relies on the branch's warships. It's hard to cover everything. Things like Crick are about to become kings. You are strong enough. Although you are currently affiliated with Kyuzan, you can choose to become a rear admiral directly under the headquarters, or we will make an exception and send you to become the branch base commander. The Grand Line's base is not universal. Sengoku-san, this is not very fair to me. Kyuzan, you guy, I know you have doubts in your heart. You still have doubts about Marine and the actions of the government, but for the sake of the peace of most people, sometimes I do need to make some sacrifices. Aokiji scratched his head and looked at Garp. Let's do it. I am willing to accept the position of base commander, but I need to choose the position myself. I am still under Kyuzan's command. I will go on missions in his place, but... Dylan looked at Sengoku, who was getting serious. Go on, I need you to agree with Aokiji's promise to me that I still need enough autonomy. What do you mean by autonomy? Sengoku frowned slightly. He has also heard of this young man's style, and his attitude towards pirates is almost the same as Sakazuki's. If this guy was placed in the New World. No, even in the first half of the Grand Line, this guy will definitely cause an uproar among pirates and even start a war. It's just what you think, Mr. Sengoku. Dylan chuckled. But you don't have to worry too much. I'm not crazy. Even if there is a war, I will wait for a good time. What's the timing? Sengoku looked at Dylan and smiled meaningfully. So, where did you choose? G5. Chapter 10. New World Frontend. Marine G5 Base. A group of ferocious-looking Marines gathered around and discussed without any scruples. Oh. Has the headquarters sent a new base commander here? What kind of guy is he? Most people did not wear Marines' white military uniforms, but simply displayed the words 5 or G5 on a certain part of the body or clothing. Whatever, if it's a soft guy, we don't have to pay attention to him. After all, this is the New World. So soft guy, let's go to the 4 Seas. What if it's a very powerful guy? A voice completely different from their wild tone sounded next to them. The person who just spoke subconsciously cried, if it's strong enough. Enemy attack. A few more sensitive Marines reacted and quickly stood up using their weapons to support their bodies. At the gate of the base, a tall figure appeared in their sight. Hey, you guy, this is the Marine G5 base, what are you doing? The figure was completely unmoved. Sengoku and Garp said that G5 has a special location, so the style of this base is very similar to mine, but... Countless black thunder surged out of Dylan's body, and the powerful energy shook the Marine in the base. I don't really agree with your strength. You trash, now get out of here and line up on the playground. Anyone who doesn't arrive within 1 minute can get out. Are you the newly appointed base commander, Dylan Rear Admiral, who was appointed by the Marshal in an unusual way? Dylan stood at the gate of the base, raised his eyelids and looked at the person who asked the question, what's the problem? You still have 50 seconds. After the others looked at each other for a moment, they rushed out in a swarm. Time up. On the playground, the G5 Marines have already lined up, but the formation is really unbearable to look at. There was also a buzzing sound of discussion in the crooked team. Dylan walked from the gate towards the playground, and the G5 Marines fell silent instantly. In the New World, their vision and knowledge are far beyond the comparison of the guys from the world or the paradise. This man, the newly appointed base commander, actually owns Conqueror's Haki. This is the qualification of a king. But, what kind of king does this man want to become? Marine King? Dylan walked down the steps slowly, looking at Marine who looked like a pirate with a blank expression. I didn't care what you did before, but from today on, my rules are the rules. Those who have objections should either hold it in or get out. I'm done. Do you have any objections? A powerful aura spread out, and the Marines in the field straightened their bodies subconsciously. Many Marines swallowed, but no one questioned it. The G5 Marine branch, both in appearance and style, is very similar to pirates. Although they believe in justice, they disdain the style of this branch and other branches. Their methods are particularly cruel to pirates. They also believe in the strong more. Since there is no such thing, the first task is to get the construction and sanitation done for me. Dylan threw down a drawing. You have 2 months to complete your mission. After speaking, Dylan's body flashed and disappeared. Everyone in G5 was silent for a while as they watched Dylan disappear, and then burst into cheers. Oh! A powerful guy is here, and now our life will get better. In the sky, Dylan was stunned for a moment when he heard their voices, and then turned into a stream of light and flew away into the distance. Marine forward flanks, impel down. Did Dylan, who is very popular recently, be Rear Admiral? Magellan looked at Dylan in the living room. What's the point of coming to impel down? Come and ask for someone. Dylan did not sit down, but stood in the middle of the living room. Seeing Dylan's attitude, Magellan didn't ask any questions. Marine often formulated some targeted combat plans, which required using prisoners as bait or deciding to execute the prisoners. So, what about the procedures, Dylan Rear Admiral? Most of the prisoners in Impel Down are ability users. Although you are a newly promoted Rear Admiral, I believe you also know the rules. Dylan stretched out his finger and shook it. I'm not here to ask for a prisoner. Prisoners are of no use to me. I'm here to ask for another person. Other people. Magellan looked directly at Dylan, thinking of the rumors about Dylan, and seemed to understand something. I see, is Shiryu going to be transferred? However, this also requires procedures. After I meet him, if it satisfies me, the transfer order will be conveyed by Sengoku. Magellan's ferocious face showed solemnity. In that case. Magellan pressed the intercom in the room, informed Shiryu to the top floor. After turning off the intercom, Magellan's huge body looked at Dylan. After pondering for a while, Magellan spoke. Shiryu is too bloodthirsty, and once he starts killing, he will be indistinguishable between friend and foe. I hope you can control him better instead of being influenced by him. Dylan chuckled and responded, so your tolerance for him should be almost reaching its limit? If I don't come, you should be ready to attack him, right? Later, Shiryu was indeed defeated by Magellan, taken into custody, and sentenced to death. Neither of them spoke any more while waiting. Magellan looked serious. Dylan was recalling the information about Shiryu in his mind. No one uses it. The really powerful guys in the marine are basically admirals or senior advisors, the so-called vice admirals of the headquarters. Tisk. The name sounds good, but the actual combat effectiveness is extremely unstable, and they are basically under the command of Kizaru or Akainu. Kyuzan is a salty fish, and the only person he can command is Smoker, a big loser and a rookie. If you want to end the era of great pirates, you must gather all the power you can use. Magellan, are you looking for me? Shiryu, 3 meters tall, appeared in the living room on the top floor with a cigar in his mouth. I'm not looking for you, it's this man, the G5 branch base commander, the new Marine Rear Admiral Dylan. Magellan looked at Dylan, then at Shiryu, and then fell silent. He also didn't quite agree with the rumors about Dylan. Oh? Is it rumored that there is a new Rear Admiral who is as powerful as the Admiral? Shiryu exhaled a puff of smoke and looked at Dylan. What do you want from me? Dylan slowly pulled out Shura. Magellan's pupils shrank, and a smile appeared on Shiryu's face at the door. We will talk about other things after I verify your strength. The moment Shura unsheathed the black-red blade and exposed it to the air, the huge living room seemed to have been drained of air. Shiryu raised his eyebrows. This breath. Not only a beast, but an evil ghost. Interesting. If you are killed, it will be treated as Magellan judging you in advance. Dylan flicked the blade. Shiryu did not give in at all, but said excitedly, if I kill you, I will have no choice but to defect, but, this is really exciting. Ding! 2 black figures flashed in the living room, and Liu and Shura were right next to each other. What a terrifying power, and the intensity of this haki. Shiryu turned the cigar in his mouth, his eyes glowing red. If it's only to this extent, Shiryu, I'm not satisfied. Dylan's arms trembled, and the Black Conqueror's haki wrapped around Shura's knife handle. Of course not, I haven't been this excited for a long time. Shiryu's arm also tightened, and the dark red aura also climbed up his arm towards Liu's blade. Rain.che. That's cool. Shiryu. The Black Conqueror's haki erupted instantly, and the blades that were originally together gradually separated. In Shiryu's surprised eyes, Liu trembled for a while and finally couldn't hold on anymore and bounced back. Shiryu's body also flew backwards with the power transmitted from the blade. Shiryu stabilized his body after falling back several meters. What kind of power is this? Can conquerors still be entangled? Shiryu's eyes flashed red. This world is really wonderful. Come with me, Shiryu, to the new world. There are plenty of people to kill for you. The thunderstorm returned to its sheath, and the red light in Shiryu's eyes gradually dissipated. As you wish, sir. Chapter 11. Dylan Rear Admiral, the procedures still need to be completed. Although Magellan didn't like Shiryu, he couldn't let him leave without evidence. Oh, got it. Dylan pulled out his phone bug. Marshal? I'm Dylan. Sengoku's voice came from the phone bug that transformed into glasses. What's wrong? There won't be a fight so soon, right? Am I such a guy in the marshal's mind? Dylan teased for a while and then said the topic directly. I need to transfer Impel Down's warden Shiryu to the G5 base. I have already communicated with him and Director Magellan. Shiryu, Dylan, Shiryu is not an ordinary swordsman. I hope you can suppress him and not let him be controlled by the desire to kill. Sengoku pointed out the problem bluntly and didn't care whether Shiryu himself was around. Of course, Marshal. Unless he is more powerful than me one day. Otherwise, he will always be Marine's sharp sword. Mark your words, Dylan. As the phone went off, Dylan looked up at Magellan, who nodded silently and then looked at Shiryu, who was much taller than him. You have a chance to challenge me once a year. If you win, I will let you go free, and you can even take my life. If you lose, you must obey all my orders unconditionally in the next year. Is there a problem? It's so direct. Hey. Shiryu exhaled a puff of smoke, but I accept it. With a strong man like you, my sword will not be lonely. Walking outside the gate of Impel Down, Dylan glanced at the sky and said to Shiryu, you go to the G5 base for the time being, I have to go out for a while. Learn. Dylan glanced back at the bottomless prison. After Impel Down, it turned into lightning and disappeared. Shiryu grinned at Magellan and then boarded the departing warship. Looking at the two people leaving, Magellan frowned. Marine Ford. School grounds. Drink. Ha. Belmere was sparring with a middle-aged Marine, and both sides were covered in armed sabres. Dylan sat on the bench outside the court and watched their offense and defense. You have been in East Blue for so many years, why are you just thinking about training her now? To be honest, after she is a teenager, her achievements may be limited no matter how hard she trains. Aokiji walked over to Dylan with a recliner under his arm. Dylan looked at Aokiji who had collapsed on the recliner and couldn't help but complain. Sure enough, except for Akainu, everyone in Marine is a fish monster. Not necessarily. After all, the most indispensable thing in this sea is miracles, right? Is it a miracle? Aokiji mumbled and did not refute Dylan. He just pulled down his blindfold to block the Sunday. By the way, there's a case over there in the water capital. You go check it out on my behalf and don't cause any trouble. Water City. Dylan frowned and thought for a moment, Tom's trial. Ah. Do you know this? I have to go out for a while, and I will leave the affairs of the Water City to you. Aokiji has become lazy and decadent since experiencing the O'Hara incident. In his early years, he believed in bloody justice, but after witnessing Akainu attacking Marines and civilians for missions, he began to doubt Marines' justice. No longer care about many things. Except for his little loli. Okay, I also want to meet the guy who built Roger's ship. But Kuzan, if I encounter something that goes against justice, how should I deal with it? Dylan asked casually, staring at Belmere who was fighting on the field. Aokiji's originally limp body stiffened, is it contrary to justice? This question has been bothering me for many years, why don't you give me the answer? Understood. Dylan stood up and shook out his cloak. In the school field, Belmere saw Dylan getting up, stopped sparring, and his figure turned into a shadow and came to Dylan. You have a good grasp of shaving. Dylan looked at Belmere who looked like a delinquent girl, the armed color coverage has also made some progress. You still have 2 months, and you will report to the G5 base in 2 months. Yes, sir. Belmere saluted very seriously at first, and then said with a smile, it's really serious, Dylan Rear Admiral, but, when will the salary be paid? I almost have no money to smoke. Dylan turned to look at Aokiji who was sitting on the recliner, hey. Kuzan. We are all your subordinates. It shouldn't be a problem to advance a little salary, right? Ah, don't you have any money? I know that although you distributed most of the loot from the pirate eradication in East Blue to the poor, the rest is definitely an astronomical figure, right? Dylan spread his hands, that's right, but I don't have it with me. I'll have to send someone back to pick it up after G5 is built. So, UBD, aren't you going to pay wages to your lovely subordinates? Looking at the expectant Belmere Aokiji, he didn't react for a while, that's not the case, it's just. Go to the Internal Affairs Office and collect 100,000 belly, Dylan said to Belmere, tell them it was the Kuzan Admiral who advanced your salary. Yes. Belmere appeared in the distance in a flash, 3 minutes faster than before. Hey, hey. Aokiji scratched his head, this way, ah, forget it, I don't have many people here anyway, just do whatever you want. After saying that, Aokiji lay back down again. A smile appeared on Dylan's lips, then I'll go over there, Kuzan. If I encounter any trouble on the way to pursue justice, you have to help me share some of it. I know, I know. Aokiji waved his hand in the air, seeming very impatient. After Dylan's breath disappeared, Aokiji said to himself, is there a different kind of justice? What will it be like? The City of Water. The famous shipbuilding Holy Land, in addition to Pluton, one of the third-generation ancient weapons, it also built the Golden Jackson, the vehicle of Pirate King Gol D. Roger, and the 1000 Sunny of the future King Luffy. In the sky, Dylan looked down at the sea train whizzing past the sea and couldn't help but praise it. A wonderful invention. On the sea not far away, a judicial ship was parked on the sea. One with purple hair. The guy with an ugly and weird face is holding a phone bug in his hand. Contemporary CP5 Captain Spondum. Pluton. Yes, it is the lost ancient weapon. The blueprint should still be in the hands of someone in the Water City, most likely Tom. After all, he built the Golden Jackson for Roger. After this task is completed, you can be promoted to CP0 in advance. CP0. Spondum, holding the phone bug, was shaking with excitement. That's CP0. Damn it, that old man, his crimes will be offset in 3 days. Damn it. Damn it. You must not miss this opportunity. Dylan was suspended in mid-air, watching Spondum's every move. A unique training method from Sky Island, Observation Hackey's heart network allows him to perceive every move and even the inner thoughts of a creature weaker than him without any obstacles. His agreement with the world government cannot be broken, but we absolutely cannot just let him return to his free status. Spondum rolled his eyes and thought of the 2 children beside Tom. Hee. Since the crime of building the Golden Jackson is going to be offset, then I will add one more crime to you. Dylan looked coldly at Spondum, who was smiling sinisterly in the cabin, took out the phone bug from his arms, and passed the recording to Aokiji. After receiving the recording, the other end of the phone fell silent, and then closed silently. Still escaping? Kyuzin. The O'Hara Buster call was initiated by Spondum's father, Spandane, and it had something to do with Aokiji. Dylan put the phone bug back in his arms and slowly rose towards the clouds high in the sky. Spondum, you can be considered one of the few top sluts in the world. Dylan's eyes narrowed slightly, then opened suddenly. Countless lightning flashes emerged from around his body, and the already overcast weather instantly became more oppressive. Ha! Spondum pushed open the hatch and looked at the thunderclouds rolling overhead. Does the paradise also have such weather? Sir, something is not right. A CP5 member walked to the cabin door. This is not an ordinary weather change. What's the meaning? Spondum looked around and asked, what do you mean by unusual weather changes? Maybe, some kind of creature is controlling the weather. I think we should leave the sea area as soon as possible. Leave. Spondum screamed. Leave. A voice appeared on the deck. Where are we going? Chapter 12. Dylan stood on his toes and looked at Spondum, who had purple curly hair. I feel very unhappy whenever I see your ugly face. Marine. Spondum screamed, who authorized you to board my ship? You Marines are just lackeys of the world government. Spondum pointed his finger at Dylan. What do you, a mere rear admiral, want to do? Guess. Dylan tapped the side of the ship gently, and countless lightning flashes surrounded him. Fine thunder and lightning filled the air, wrapping the judicial ship in the middle. Dylan, Rear Admiral, are you planning to attack CP and NI's lobby ships? Oh. Have you been recognized? Dylan looked at the CP5 member who spoke. The huge intelligence network of the CP organization monitors Dahai's every move at all times. When Dylan defeated Bloodhook Rhodes and was promoted to Rear Admiral, CP also reorganized his past. He is a very powerful man, with the strength to start as a Vice Admiral. This is the CP organization's judgment of him. Mr. Spondum is a CP5 officer appointed by the world government, A&D. As if he didn't hear him, Dylan walked towards the cabin door casually. Continue recording. What? Is the phone bug broken? The CP5 member's face darkened, and the small phone bug in his arms and the image bug hidden in his hat fell silent at this time. Dylan, Rear Admiral, please think carefully about the consequences of attacking judicial officers and CP as a Marine. Then I'll think about it. Dylan glanced at Spondum's purple nose. Think about it and kill you. You. The faces of the CP5 members darkened, and the figures standing on both sides of Spondum flashed at the same time. Finger pistol. Broken. Tempest kick. Broken. Bang bang. Seeing his subordinates rushing forward, Spondum turned around and ran towards the cabin without any hesitation. Dylan led two dead fish-like CP5 members and threw them into the cabin. You guy, UBD. Spondum picked up the golden phone bug from the bedside in the room. I don't know what means you used, but as long as I press this button. Buster call? Why don't you give it a try? Dylan leaned against the door frame and looked nonchalantly at Spondum, who was sweating profusely. Snap! Spondum's hand shook, and the golden phone bug woke up. Press it. Spondum's expression turned into a sinister smile before it lasted for 2 seconds. Hey, forget it, in that case, then you guys are going to be buried in the sea. You actually tried to attack Lord Spondum. Dylan leaned against the door frame and dug his ears. This is at sea. If the signal is sent out, you will also become a scumbag in the marine gunfire, right? That's a lie. But... Dylan snapped his fingers. Within my ability, the signal cannot be sent out, don't worry. More scary, okay? UBD. That's right. Dylan licked his lips. I kind of understand Shiryu's hobby now. Spondum retreated to the edge of the cabin. What are you going to do? Let you return to the essence of your life, Shura said, and Dylan slowly pulled out, you scum. Whoosh. The crimson sword light erupted from Dylan's body, penetrating the judicial ship and Spondum's body like cutting paper. Snapped. Shura returned to his sheath, and the entire judicial ship disintegrated like building blocks with its base removed. Dylan was suspended in the air and looked at the fragments floating on the sea. He chuckled and turned into a stream of light and flew towards the water city. Fram. Are you randomly adding weapons to the ship again? BD. What kind of ship is it without weapons? Ace Baku, you idiot, you really are not cool at all. Meow ha ha ha, a man should face the ship he built with a loud voice. I want you to take care of it. I want you to take care of it. Dylan slowly landed on Hulk Island and looked around. Can a sea train be built in this kind of garbage dump? Sure enough, the guy named Tom should not be underestimated. Especially this guy is still in cat form. Seeing Dylan falling from the sky, Tom's chubby face showed a hint of solemnity, and Frankie and Bing Shan, who were squirting at each other, also became quiet. Although Dylan did not speak, the aura emanating from him made the three masters and disciples instinctively feel uneasy. World government. Looking at Dylan's cape, Tom subconsciously thought that the world government was preparing to break the contract. Dylan threw the dictaphone bug in his hand, and Tom took it and pressed the switch in confusion. Pluton. Yes, it is the lost ancient weapon. It should still be in the hands of someone in the Water City, most likely Tom. After all, he built the Golden Jackson for Roger. After this mission is completed, I can be promoted to CP0 in advance. Hee hee. Since the crime of building the Golden Jackson will be offset, then I will add one more crime to you. After listening to the recording, Tom fell silent. After a moment, he stared at Dylan and asked, what are they going to do? Their original plan was to steal the idiot's Frankie battleship and attack the judicial ship, so that the idiot would be sentenced to death. There are not many options left for you. Building a sea train can only offset one charge. How do you offset the other charge? Pluton design. Or your life. Is this so? Tom was a little depressed. It seems that I can't escape my fate as a person. Beside Tom, Frankie and Bing Shan, who were still arguing, had solemn expressions on their faces. They were living in the Water City near an ice lobby, and they knew very well how easy it would be for the world government to blame them. For some personal reasons, I have killed this guy, but... Dylan stretched out his finger and shook his head. This does not solve the problem. The world government's search for Pluton will not be due to it ended with the failure of CP5. Damn it, be it Pluton, or Golden Jackson, we are just boatmen. How can we care whether the person driving the boat is a god or a devil? Do we have to be punished for this? Who knows, this is not something that a little person like me can decide. I am very determined just to kill CP5 who is planning to frame you. Or you can choose to run away now and think if you don't want to be threatened by the world government, it would be a good idea to go to the New World and become a pirate. Dylan sat down against a huge rudder. He was telling the truth. With Tom's high level of recognition, it was almost impossible to hide it. The only way to stay safe temporarily is to go to New World and join the Four Emperors group. After all, the world government still does not have the ability to attack the New World on a large scale. Pirates? Damn it, not even. Fram. Tom rarely bowed his head seriously to stop Frankie. This man gave him a stronger sense of oppression than Roger gave him back then. What's more, this man was still wearing the cape of General Marine. Since you have saved me, it must be that my body can still be used by you, right? I wonder what you want? Is it also Pluton's design? Tom is outspoken and does not have the same attitude towards Spondum as in the original work. Pluton. Dylan shook his head, maybe it will be useful in the future, but not now. Tom clenched his huge palms together, then what do you want? My marine base and my future car still lack a boatman. Join Marine, and I will take care of the Pluton for you, A&D. Dylan turned to look. He glanced at the young and mature iceberg. I'll tell you another way to avoid the threat of the world government, so that the water city has enough autonomy and voice. In this way, you can build your own ideal ship with peace of mind. How about it? What method? Green-haired Frankie immediately looked excited when he heard Dylan's words. Bing Shan and Tom looked at Dylan solemnly. Joining Marine is not like sending a sheep into the tiger's mouth for them. If I refuse, the world government will soon send people here again. Tom looked at the abandoned ships around him, feeling a sense of sadness and despair in his heart. Probably, it's Pluton after all, and the one who comes next time will definitely not be someone like CP5. After being silent for a while, Tom suddenly looked up to the sky and laughed, meow ha 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 ha, it seems that I can't escape my fate even though I am loud. In that case, let's face it head on. Roger can build a ship for a man like him. It's my honor, I believe a man like you will do well. Old civet cat. Frankie looked at Tom with wide eyes, do you really want to join Marine? Marine? What's wrong? There are good guys and heroes among pirates, like Roger, but most of them are bad guys. There are bad guys in world government, like guys like Spondum, but most of them are good guys. Tom stood up and grinned, I chose you because I see the same hope in you as Roger, no. But a completely different hope from Roger. A prophet? Be careful with the knife. Dylan teased. No, it's not a prophecy. Tom shook his head, it's the voice of the heart. Dylan looked at the serious Tom, nodded slightly, and then looked at the iceberg. If you want to have enough say, integrate the entire water city, and then make it the best shipbuilding company in the Grand Line and even the world base, so that the world government can only cooperate with you instead of threatening you with force. If you encounter resistance, I can provide you with some military support, of course, secretly. Dylan looked at Bing Shan, who looked a little moved. More often, it is best to conquer this place by yourself, otherwise even if it is unified, it will be very fragile. I see, it is indeed a very good idea. Tom gave a rare kind smile and looked at the iceberg. Ace-Bagoo, the future of the water city is left to you. Hey! Old man civet cat, why not me? Meow ha ha ha, as for you, Frame. Tom pressed his palm on his shoulder, you want to build the coolest and loudest ship in the world. Chapter 13. Just when Dylan was about to leave after explaining to Bing Shan how to unify the water city, 3 breaths quickly approached Hulk Island. 3 tall guys wearing weird masks appeared on the edge of Hulk Island. Adams Dylan, Rear Admiral. On behalf of the highest authority in the world government, we have something to ask you. CP0. Dylan looked at these weird guys. Judging from the auras exuding from their bodies, their strength is very ordinary. At most, it is at the mid-range level of the 4 Emperors group. Oh? Do you know me? It seems that you do know some secret information, then. The leader CP0 pointed at Tom, we have reason to suspect that the disappearance of CP5 is related to you, and you are close to what is the purpose of this guilty sinner. Dylan took out his cigarette and lit it, exhaled a puff of smoke and looked at them, I don't know about CP5, but this guy. Dylan pondered for a moment and then said to CP0, you call 5 elders and I will explain to them. You have no right to talk directly to the 5 elders. The leader CP0 said without emotion. Really? Dylan chuckled, you lackeys really have no vision. Laugh. The crimson sword flashed, and the CP0 member standing on the left flew out before he could react. A bloodline spread on the chest. Marine. Are you ready? Shut up. You maggot in the sewer. If it weren't for the peace of the sea, I could go out to sea and become a pirate at any time. I could even join Kaido or Linlin at any time if I wanted to. You rotten sweet potatoes and rotten eggs have no ability to stop me, and you have no right to talk to me like this. Even though Shura had returned to his sheath, the aura revealed just now made everyone present breathless. My patience is limited. If the 5 elders are unwilling to talk, then I will return to G5. What I want to do after that is up to you. The leader, CP0, was silent for a while, then took out his phone, dialed the number, and then briefly stated what happened. Adams Dillon. Why did you attack CP0? You should know that they are directly under the highest authority of the world government. This is tantamount to going to war against the government. The appearance of the phone bug has changed into a blonde and red-faced man, one of the 5 elders. Some things are beyond their control. Dillon looked at the phone bug and pondered for a moment. Of course I have no intention of rebelling against the government. I believe you have already investigated this. My achievements in East Blue for more than 10 years are enough to prove this. Everything. Yes, this is why we are willing to talk to you. We believe that you are loyal to the world government and are willing to contribute to the peace of the sea. Dillon sneered in his heart, but did not show anything strange. In that case, let's get straight to the point, about Pluton. It shouldn't be in the Water City. I believe CP has already investigated it. As for Tom, it is in Marine's hands. It's better than killing him or completely pushing him to the opposite side. I believe you all agree on this. The phone bug was silent for a moment, seeming to agree with Dillon's point of view. What you say makes sense, but the world government cannot just give up on the clues about Pluton. It's really embarrassing. Dillon dropped his cigarette butt and looked at the phone bug. Then, how about I exchange it for another piece of information? About the devil fruit that the world government has been pursuing for 800 years. The phone bug's originally squinted eyes suddenly opened. What do you know? Dillon shook his head. I know very little. I have neither been to Raftel nor O'Hara. I am not interested in the past history. I am only pursuing the future. Haven't you already confirmed some things repeatedly? What? You can't trust your own judgment or CP's intelligence capabilities. Is this so? We have indeed confirmed your past, but the fact that you can say such things and know that fruit is enough to prove that you are not an ordinary person. Don't worry about it. 5 elders, we are not enemies. Besides, there are many people in this world who know the truth. The crew who followed Roger aboard the Raftel, some guys in rocks, and guys like Doflamingo, right? Dillon's words once again silenced the 5 elders, while CP0, who was holding the phone bug, was trembling all over. Knowing this kind of secret related to the nature of the world, was not a lucky thing for him. That's right. Compared to Roger's crew, what does it matter if a man like you knows the truth? I believe you will still be willing to protect the peace of the sea. So, where did the fruit go? Taken away by Redhead Shanks. It's him. The other end of the phone was startled, and then there seemed to be some problem. There was some slight argument on the other end of the phone. The 5 elders on the call said to Dillon, Adams Dillon, you will be responsible for taking care of Tom. If you have definite information about the fruit, remember to inform us. How to notify? Dillon looked at CP0 whose hands were already shaking. Tell CP0. No, you have to contact us directly. The voice of the blonde 5 elders came. CP0 will give you a special phone bug that can communicate with us directly. Is that so? It's an incredible right. By the way, in addition to that fruit, I also have some ideas for the 3 major weapons, but I don't have enough manpower. How about it? Is it possible to use it when necessary? Let CP0 cooperate with me. CP0 bent down and held the phone bug. Hearing Dillon's words, CP0, who was wearing a mask, raised his head. Although he couldn't see his face, Dillon could clearly feel his anger. Yes, but you can only share intelligence through the CP organization, and you have no right to mobilize CP members. After the phone bug went out, Dillon looked at the leader CP0. After CP0 twitched his mouth, he took out 2 phone bugs from his arms, one was blue and the other was greenish-gray. The blue phone bug is directly connected to 5 elders, and the gray one is, directly connected to me. CP0 was silent for a moment. Do you want to be promoted? Dillon looked at CP0. I know some interesting things. If you submit it as an investigation report, you will definitely be promoted. How about, although the 5 elders say that I have no right to transfer you, are you willing to give it a try personally? CP0's expression changed under the mask. This guy can tell the 5 elders so many secrets that even he doesn't know, maybe. Dillon put away the phone bug and said with a smile, I know that your intelligence network and financial resources are very strong. Help me find a few fruits. I have an approximate location. After I find them, I will give you information on promotion. What kind of fruit, information refers to. After Dylan possessed CP0 and said a few words in his ear, CP0's eyes widened instantly. Ignoring his shocked expression, Dylan laughed and turned around and walked towards Tom. Let's go, your crime has been cleared. From now on, you will be the boatman of my G5 branch. Dylan did not avoid Tom when he was on the phone with the 5 elders just now. Tom was not only shocked but also shocked by Dylan's conversation with the world's highest power. Back then, when Roger was his age, not only did he not have such strength, he also lacked such knowledge and power. Then please Rear Admiral, please take care of me. Tom laughed, and the haze that had been weighing on his heart for many years was swept away. Ace Bagoo, I leave it to you to continue the construction of the sea train. Tom glanced back at the iceberg and didn't say much else. After all, CP0 was still here. Don't worry, old civet cat. Frankie shouted, we will definitely make the Water City the best shipbuilding center in the world. Chapter 14. After boarding CP0's ship, Dylan looked at CP0 who looked as if he had eaten shit and said, oh no, don't be so stingy. Not only are we partners, we are at least colleagues, right? CP0 looked at Dylan who was leaning lazily on the deck and didn't know what to say for a moment. 5 elders said that you have no right to transfer CP. Taking a boat trip doesn't count as a transfer, does it? Dylan looked at CP0 with a smile, don't be so stingy, there will be plenty of room for cooperation in the future. CP0 didn't speak anymore, silently digesting the locations of the fruits that Dylan had told him before, as well as the secrets that could lead to his promotion. If it's true. By the way, what is the composition of that guy Spandine? Dylan, who was leaning on the side of the ship, asked without noticing anything else while enjoying the sunshine. Spandine has now left the CP organization, but he still has some say within the organization. Although he didn't like Dylan in his heart, due to the pressure from 5 elders and Dylan's own strength, CP0 hesitated and answered his question in a satisfactory manner. What's more, there is still a transaction between the two. Just as Dylan was chatting with CP0, the originally calm sea ahead suddenly broke into waves. Hey! Dylan looked towards the sea and saw a familiar figure. Did you come to your door? Fatty Blue. You guys keep sailing, I'll be here later. Dylan's body turned into lightning and disappeared on the deck. On the sea, Jinbei stood on the wave, looking calmly at the rushing thunder. Hey, it seems that the octopus brought my words to you. Jinbei was silent for a moment and then met Dylan's teasing gaze, although long. Although what? Even though he has done a lot of bad things, he is not worthy of death. Dylan sneered, and his eyes began to change when he looked at Jinbei. Guilty means guilty. I don't differentiate between races here. Needless to say, fishmen, the number of humans who died in my hands was not even 100,000 but 80,000. There is only one reason, they were guilty. The marine cloak behind Dylan rustled fiercely in the howling sea breeze. So Jinbei, restrain the bastards in Fishman Street. If you can't do that, it's best if you can kill them yourself. If you wait until I take action. The wind roared on the sea surface, and the clouds in the sky suddenly began to billow, and countless thunder lights shuttled and roared in the clouds. It's not a problem that can be solved with 1 or 2 heads. Feeling the tangled thunder and lightning in the air, Jinbei asked in a deep voice, so, what about the criminals who kidnapped and trafficked our compatriots? Fight violence with violence. Dylan replied calmly. I understand. Facing Dylan's momentum, Jinbei stood on the wave and nodded, I will suggest it to Nipton. As for Fishman Street. Jinbei's eyes flashed, I will end it myself. That's best. After speaking, Dylan's figure began to blur, and the thunderclouds in the sky gradually dissipated. After a while, except for Jinbei, who was still standing on the wave, the entire sea area returned to a calm and sunny appearance. Looking at the almost invisible sail in the distance, Jinbei was silent for a long time, still struggling in his heart. Back on CP0's boat, Dylan sat down on the side of the boat again. CP0 looked at him and walked into the cabin silently. With Tom, it is difficult for Dylan to directly use his abilities to fly. There will still be some troublesome people on the way from the Water City to G5. If he is allowed to go there alone, he will inevitably be missed by those who are interested. By the way, Tom, are you a fishman? Dylan looked at Tom who was sitting quietly aside. Yes, it's the famous hornfish man. Tom grinned. Dylan looked at Tom's chubby body. This guy can lift a boat with one hand. His brute strength alone is a combat power that cannot be underestimated, not to mention that he is a fishman. Ever fought? Fighting. Tom looked at Dylan doubtfully. I am a famous boatman, fighting or something. No. It's not like that. Dylan looked at Tom with a rare serious expression. Having power but not using it easily is two different things than not having power. Tom, in this sea, whether it is a marine or a pirate, only by having power can we be better. Implement your beliefs. But Tom, who has always been kind, hesitated. Although he was extremely powerful, due to his personality, he was really not good at fighting. What do you think of my strength? Tom was stunned for a moment, rubbed his palms and said, it's very powerful. It seems to be even more powerful than the famous Roger when he was young. That's right, Dylan raised his hand and clenched it into a fist, because I am strong enough, I have many choices, and the world will be extra tolerant to me. Whether it is killing CP5 or protecting you forcefully, this is all it is inseparable from my strong power. If I were very weak today, let alone you and the water capital, even I would lose my life here. Pluton Rayleigh, as the vice-captain of the Pirate King, isn't he a target that must be encircled and suppressed? Why can he still live openly in the Sabayati archipelago? Because he is powerful enough to make Marine and the world government think, if he is not on the premise of going berserk, is it worth encircling and suppressing by force? This is the convenience brought by power. Seeing Tom's struggling expression, Dylan looked at the sea. Have you never thought that if you have strong power, not to mention a waste like CP5, not even the world government or those big pirates would dare to embarrass you easily, and can you better protect your disciples and help the water capital? After hearing Dylan's words, Tom fell silent. If that was really the case, maybe it's not a bad thing. There was no need for Dylan to deceive him. If Dylan hadn't killed CP5 that day, Dylan himself wouldn't have been in the Water City. The fate of him, his disciples, and even the entire Water City will be completely different. After Tom struggled for a moment while sitting cross-legged on the deck, his breathing began to become heavier. So, what to do? Use your advantages. Dylan replied decisively, the fishmen's water control and your strength. In a nutshell, it's Murloc karate and armament haki. Hey! CP! Dylan shouted toward the cabin, we're out doing business. The expressionless CP0 came out of the cabin and looked at Dylan. In the 800th year of world government, the training method of fishman karate must have been completely included, right? How about it? Should I go to the 5 elders to change it or should I change it with you? Seeing Dylan's almost rogue attitude, CP0 opened his mouth. Indeed, what are you going to exchange for it? Dylan touched his chin. Fishman karate is actually not something difficult to master. There are many people who know it, but the version collected by world government is definitely the most complete. What should I exchange for it? What happened to OPOP fruit? CP0's pupil shrank. OPOP fruit? World government prices 5 billion belly fruits? Want to change the training method of fishman karate? Looking at CP0's starry eyes, Dylan laughed loudly. What are you thinking about eating shit? In addition to the complete fishman karate training method, at least give me 1 fruit I need in exchange, and 2 will be smoothed out. How about this deal? CP0 thought about it in his mind and nodded. Yes, if you are willing, you can now withdraw the same type of fruit from Marie Joya's treasure house. Although there are differences, the type is the same. Can. After receiving Dylan's reply, CP0 immediately called 5 elders. What's up? It was still the blonde-haired 5 elders who answered the phone. After listening to CP0's statement, 5 elders signaled CP0 to point the phone bug at Dylan. OPOP fruit is also a very important fruit. I can satisfy your request. Tell me where it is. CP0 will find you later with Marie Joya's fruit illustrated book. In a neighboring town, a young man named Trafalgar Law ate it. His identity is a bit complicated and he is related to Sengoku. You are left to investigate on your own. I know, the remaining CP organizations will verify it. The phone bug goes out. Dylan looked at CP0 and smiled meaningfully. How is it? Have you got this merit again? CP0 was silent, and finally nodded slightly. Lo. Since you want to inherit Rosinante's wool, then don't become a pirate. Let's shine at Marine. Chapter 15. After sailing from the Water City for more than half a month, CP0's ship finally arrived at the front end of New World. Hey, we're going to say goodbye soon. Don't you have any parting words? On the boat, the masked CP0 seemed to have gotten used to the usually playful and smiling Dylan. Don't be so serious. Even if you are a spy, you can be more lively. Dylan patted CP0 on the shoulder. CP0 neither dodged nor responded to him. Seeing CP0's attitude, Dylan said cut, picked up 2 small boxes and said to Tom, "Let's go Tom, we're home." Inside the box were the 2 he picked from Marie Joya's Devil Fruit illustrated book. The boring voyage that lasted for more than half a month made even a strong man like Tom feel a little tired. After hearing Dylan's words, Tom stood up unsteadily and walked to Dylan. "Finally, have we finally arrived at our destination? Even if it's loud, I can't bear it." After the 2 got off the boat, CP0 stood on the bow and stared at Dylan's back. 10 days ago, after a swift investigation, the identity of the teenager named Trafalgar Law was confirmed. The world government took action quickly and even directly mobilized Sengoku to go to the neighboring town to recruit the boy. After learning about Rosinante's past, Sengoku took Luo's little hand and returned to Marineford. As the marshal, Sengoku also personally called Dylan, although he only said thank you. But its weight is self-evident. When Dylan walked into the gate of the G5 base, the originally chaotic and dirty base had become very tidy. Although it was still under construction, it had basically begun to take shape. Came back. At the entrance of the base, Shiryu bit his cigar and looked at Dylan and Tom behind him. After being transferred from Impel down to the G5 branch, Shiryu's military rank also changed. Marine Colonel, under Dylan's command. As for Tom's identity, Dylan communicated with Sengoku on the way, but Sengoku said that Tom would need to make a certain degree of contribution to Marine before he could be awarded the title. Dylan had no objection to this. After all, neither he nor Tom depended on Marine's salary. Nothing happened, right? Dylan looked at the unusually quiet G5 base. Observation Haki opened. Don't you think Laozi went out and killed all the cats and dogs at home? After taking a look around, I found that there was nothing missing about the people, but they seemed to be no longer as arrogant and wild as before. It looks like he was beaten. After all, Shiryu is not a good-tempered person. It was very restrained to be able to resist killing them. Dylan stepped in, and Shiryu took the initiative to walk half a step behind with Tom. After giving Tom a sideways glance, Shiryu looked away. Just trash fish. Adams Dylan. I'm going to complain to the headquarters. Before entering the hall, an arrogant voice sounded from inside, and then an ugly-looking Marine walked forward angrily. Who did you bring back? It's an insult to Marine's justice, it's too much. Commodore glanced at Shiryu behind Dylan, with a look of fear in his eyes. But when he saw that Shiryu didn't beat him as hard as usual, he immediately became arrogant again. It's too much. This guy has been abusing G5 Marine officers and soldiers every day in less than a month. This is still. Boom. Covered in high-intensity armament, Haki's fist struck Commodore directly over his head in the stomach. Like a fired cannonball, the Commodore flew directly from the spot and was heavily embedded in the far wall. Deduct the relevant expenses from this BDS salary as maintenance. Dylan turned to the orderly next to him and said. Yes. The orderly straightened his body and glanced over his shoulder. You, too, will have this day. Dylan then dialed Aokiji's number. What's wrong? I've only been quiet for a few days. G5 Branch Unit 06 Commodore went too far and was suspected of human trafficking, smuggling, and misappropriation of marine assets. Should I execute him on the spot, or should the headquarters take over and escort him back for investigation? Is it true? Maybe. It's not good to execute on the spot. You can report it directly to the inspection department and someone will take over. You guys, can you be a little patient with your lovely subordinates? Bulu? Awesome Kyuzan? Start hanging up on other people's phone calls? Dylan shook his head and stuffed the phone bug into his arms. After the orderly soldier lifted his head down and imprisoned him, Dylan walked to the office and sat down. Shiryu, your thunderstorm hasn't been refined into a black sword yet, has it? Shiryu turned the cigar in his mouth and took out thunderstorm. This is not something ordinary people can do. As far as I know, only Hawkeye's Ya has been refined into a permanent black sword. No, it seems that your knife is too. Dylan smiled. In fact, there is also a knife, that knife. Dylan thought for a moment, where is Chu Shui now? The Devil's Triangle? Wanakuni's national treasure. But it's still early, there are still 8 years until Straw Hat goes to sea, so there is no rush. Just leave it in Moria's hands first. In addition to haki, swordsmanship is also a very important part. Of course, if you are simply pursuing strength, I have better choices here. Shiryu raised his eyebrows, what is it? Dylan picked up a box he had just brought off the CP0 ship and placed it on the table. Zoan, Renren fruit, phantasmal beast species, Ashura form. Phantom beast species? Shiryu took a breath. He has worked for Impel Down for many years, and of course he knows how rare the phantom beast species is. Dylan looked at him with a half smile. In terms of rarity, the phantom beast species was indeed rarer than Logia. But that doesn't mean it's necessarily more powerful than Logia. Power is a very broad concept, which includes various comprehensive factors. Taijutsu, haki, fruits, talents, experience, even racial specialties, weapons, and equipment may all affect a person's strength. Compared to the Phantom Beast, Dylan believes that Logia's abilities are purer and more intuitive. This fruit is very suitable for you in some aspects, because the legendary Ashura is also very warlike and irritable. How far you can develop it depends on your own creation and its approval. Approval. Dylan didn't explain much. After all, the awakening of the devil fruit requires certain conditions, especially the Phantom Beast species. It seems that each Phantom Beast species has a certain kind of will stored in it. If you want to awaken and gain the real power, you need to obtain the will in the fruit. Approved. Seeing that Dylan didn't answer him, Shiryu stopped asking any more questions and stood in front of the table staring at the Ashura fruit and thinking. Dylan didn't urge him and just started drinking tea on his own. 10 minutes later, Shiryu seemed to have made up his mind, if I accept it, what price will I have to pay? There is no extra price. You are my knife. Of course, the sharper the better. Dylan pushed the box containing the Ashura fruit forward, it tastes a bit bad. I hope you're not picky about food. Shiryu stared at Dylan, and after a long time he said with a smile, I really don't know how powerful you are, or, in your heart, even if I refine Thunderstorm into a black sword, even if I develop this Phantom Beast fruit to the ultimate level, will it still be no match for you? Dylan laughed, but did not deny Shiryu's statement. Let's talk about that day, Shiryu, the war will not be too far away, and there is not much time left for you. You are thirsty for blood and fighting. There is no need to worry about this. In the near future, there will be endless battles waiting for you, you are not afraid of not having an opponent, I am afraid that you are too weak. Is that so? A smile appeared on Shiryu's face, then I'm welcome. I will repay the kindness of this fruit with the blood of my enemies. After speaking, Shiryu picked up the Ashura fruit and took a bite without any hesitation. A month and a half later. Sabayati Archipelago. Dylan walks on Island 12. Dylan paused as he passed a bar. Shakey's Rip-Off Bar. Dylan stopped and looked at the sign. Isn't this the bar owned by Rayleigh's old friend? Pluton Rayleigh, who must be working as a coder in his 50s now. Dylan glanced at it and turned away. Hey brother Marine, are you looking for someone? Ahead of the road, Rayleigh was holding clothes in one hand and a wine bottle in the other, looking at Dylan. Passing by. Dylan glanced at Rayleigh. This guy had not come forward in either the Summit War or the Wano Kuni incident. He only guided Straw Hat's training for 2 years in the middle. To say it is guidance, is better to say it is prenatal education. Far worse than Mr. Kaido. He taught the King Luffy Conqueror's entanglement in just a short time, and also guided him to awaken the Phantom Beast fruit. What about you Rayleigh? I taught him for 2 years, 2 whole years. As a result, King Luffy went out and learned that Kaji taught him the color of knowledge, the color of weapons was taught by Hyogoro, and the Conquerors was taught by Mr. Kaido. You are worthy of saying that King Luffy is your disciple. I think you want to have S*X for nothing. Rayleigh couldn't help but feel strange when he saw Marine in front of him and didn't pay much attention to him. He just stared at him with a strange and teasing look. Why don't you come in for a drink? Brother. Don't drink anymore, you poor guy. It's not profitable to make coatings. You go to the black market every day to sell yourself. If you can get any good wine, please me. Looking at Dylan walking away, Rayleigh was stunned, and then remembered what Shanks said when he came back from East Blue 2 years ago. Mr. Rayleigh, I met a very interesting kid in East Blue, you know? He said the same thing as the captain, and I put all my hopes on him. Really? That's really good. But... The excitement on Shank's face disappeared, replaced by a solemn look. In East Blue, I also met a very special marine. Special marine? Rayleigh looked at Shanks strangely. This guy, in a sense, was also one of the transmitters of the fire. He always had strong confidence and unparalleled optimism. Why do you show such an expression? A very special marine, Mr. Rayleigh. Shanks recalled the moment when Dylan Conqueror's haki broke out in Logue Town. His power makes me suffocated. Even if I didn't lose my left hand, I probably wouldn't be able to defeat him. Oh. After hearing Shank's words, Rayleigh also put down the bottle of wine in his hand. At that time, Shanks was almost on par with the older generation of strong players in terms of personal strength alone. And Marine can make him feel depressed. Among the active Marines, only Garp and Sengoku should have this kind of strength for the time being. And it's very young, seems to be a few years younger than me. Mr. Rayleigh. After a moment of silence, Rayleigh smiled slightly. Shanks, that's what the sea is like, isn't it? If you want to chase your dreams, crossing one mountain after another is an essential experience. Since you are optimistic about the boy from East Blue, then choose to believe in him. After all, what the sea lacks most is miracles, isn't it? Chapter 16. Adam's Dylan. Not long after he left the door of Shakey's Rip-Off Bar, a woman's voice sounded behind Dylan. A woman nearly 14 tall stood on the street corner with a hood covering her head. Dylan looked at her and said nothing. Today is the day Linlin agreed with him to pay, and the people who come should be from the Charlotte family. So tall, are you a long-legged person? Smoothie. Dylan raised his eyebrows. At this time, there seems to be no term for the three desert generals, but Smoothie should also be ranked very high in the Big Mom Pirates. By sending a guy like this here, could it be that Linlin wants to have S*X for free? The woman standing against the wall shook her head. I am Charlotte's Snowman, and Smoothie is my sister. Ho what? It turns out to be a nobody. Did you bring anything with you? Anger flashed across Charlotte Snowman's hooded face, but there was no attack. After all, this man can easily defeat Brother Defu, but it is difficult to compete with her strength. Are you inspecting the goods here? Dylan had no intention of inspecting the goods, but the other party seemed to have deep thoughts. Go to the bar in front. Charlotte Snowman followed Dylan silently into Shucky's Rip-Off Bar. Boss lady, Dong Pili. The moment Shucky behind the bar saw the two of them, he was slightly startled, and then smiled freely. Ah, what a rare guest. Thank you for your consideration. Rayleigh, who was sitting in the corner, saw Dylan walking in and narrowed his eyes slightly. Brother Marine. None of your business, old man, drink your wine. After choking Rayleigh back, Dylan walked to the bar and sat down, looking at Charlotte Snowman. What good thing do you want me to inspect? Could it be Logia? Or a phantom beast? In the corner, Rayleigh pricked up her ears and followed Dylan's every move. It's the paramecia fruit, the fortified fruit. Charlotte Snowman opened the suitcase in her hand, revealing a grey-white devil fruit. The pattern on the surface of the fruit skin showed a pattern like a slate. Dylan took the Jiancheng fruit and looked at Shucky. Boss lady, is this a genuine product? Shucky covered his mouth and smiled. It is indeed the fortress fruit. It is a fruit with a very unique effect. Hey, I asked you to help inspect the goods. I didn't ask you to add added value to him. It will be difficult for me to do business with you like this, boss lady. Is that so? Shucky exhaled the smoke gracefully and said with a smile, I'm so sorry, Brother Marine, then I'll treat Dongpeli as my treat. Dylan played with the fortress fruit in his hand and turned to look at Charlotte Snowman standing next to him. It's somewhat useful, but you can't say that a mere paramecia fruit is more valuable than Defu's life, right? Charlotte Snowman shook her head. Of course that's not what I meant. It was just to ensure face-to-face transactions, and also to show the sincerity of the Charlotte family. What my mother meant was that there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. Ho, is that so? Dylan touched his chin and looked at Charlotte Snowman. The Big Mom Pirates, although they were one of the 4 emperors a few years later, were the weakest. Linlin herself is extremely unstable, suffering from narcosis, nuns, and even her relatives after going crazy. Even every member of Tato Land must surrender their soul and lifespan to Linlin. Many unstable factors make this seemingly huge pirate group full of loopholes. Go back and tell Linlin that the deal is over. As for the rest, let's talk about it later. Dylan waved, and Charlotte Sneeman walked out of Shucky's rip-off bar in silence. Shucky crossed his arms on his chest and looked at Dylan, who was tapping his fingers lightly on the bar. Rayleigh in the corner sat next to Dylan calmly. Brother Marine, have we met? You seem to have some inexplicable hostility towards me. Rayleigh put one hand on the bar and held the bottle in the other. You are a thief and I am a soldier. Isn't it normal for me to be hostile to you? Is it because you are Roger's right arm, Pluton Rayleigh, that I have to abandon my beliefs and positions? Dylan put the fortified fruit back into the box and stood up and shook his cloak. You and I are naturally opposed to each other, but you have stopped taking action for many years, and Garp did not kill you all back then, which means you are not heinous. But Rayleigh, Shanks should have come to see you, right? I'll say the same thing to you again, and only once. I don't care if you raise your old age, but don't cross the line. You have your persistence and waiting, and I also have mine. Hearing the word wait, Rayleigh's eyes flashed. Oh? You. Before he could speak, Dylan pushed open the door and walked out, leaving Rayleigh sitting there deep in thought. Shucky walked around from behind the bar and walked behind Rayleigh and gently touched his back. What? Are you worried about the fire of the new era? This is not like you. Rayleigh raised his head and took a sip of wine. After a moment of silence, he asked Shucky, Shaky, were we so strong when we were young? Shucky held a cigarette and thought for a moment, then shook his head. He didn't take action. I can't judge, but what is certain is that at the same age, he is far stronger than you and Roger. Yet. Rayleigh looked a little lonely. He should be a few years younger than Shanks. Ever since Shanks met him, the will of Tinder has been shaken. Rayleigh. Shucky sat down with his back against the bar and looked sideways at Rayleigh. Your mission has been completed, the Tinder has been successfully passed on, and what happens next depends on fate. It's arranged. Destiny. Rayleigh laughed at himself. It turns out that one day we can only wait silently for destiny. It's always been like this, isn't it? Holy Land, Marie Joyce. In the huge palace, the 5 elders gathered together. According to CP's intelligence, Adams Dillon seemed to have reached some kind of deal with Charlotte Linlin and was in contact with Pluton Rayleigh. The bearded 5 elders shook the information on their hands. What do you think? 5 elders, who was holding a long knife, said casually while wiping his weapon, I don't think you need to care. Judging from his past experience, he is indeed not a pedantic person. Trading with pirates will only be beneficial to the stability of the world. It's not a bad idea. 5 elders, who had a birthmark on his head, crossed his arms and seemed to disagree. This man is still shrouded in fog. There is no doubt about his power, but some of the special abilities he has shown have to make people worry. Is it possible that he is also one of the lights? Or, the fire? I don't rule out this possibility, but I think it's unlikely. After all, after joining the Marine camp, it will be difficult for him to gain recognition and help from those ancient families. It is almost equivalent to losing the right to become a fire. The scene fell into silence for a moment, and the blonde 5 elders thought for a while and said, since it is difficult to distinguish, then, let's ask Lord Im for instructions. I believe he will give us the correct guidance. Seconded. Seconded. G5 base. After 2 months of construction, the base has been completely renovated. Inside the base, Belmere was sitting in Dylan's office with her legs crossed, wearing the cape of Lieutenant Commander. Rear Admiral, I heard from people in the headquarters that you are like a devil in East Blue. Why has there been no movement for so long since you arrived at the Grand Line? Dylan put his feet up on the table and glanced at Belmere and Shiryu. Do I have to say it's because you are too weak? This is the new world, not a paradise, let alone the world. If you go out to hunt, you will easily come into contact with big pirates. With G5's current level not enough. I see, G5's usable combat power is really not much. Shiryu said while wiping the blade of thunderstorm. Ah, I'm so underestimated. Belmere leaned back on the sofa and hummed in boredom. Shiryu slightly turned his head and glanced at Belmere, paused and said, although I don't know why Dylan values you so much, I think you should go to battle to make better progress. After all, your talent is better than that of the one outside. For a boatman, it's really quite different. When he heard the word boatman, Belmere's expression froze. That guy Tom. After mastering the color hardening of the weapon, he coupled it with his unparalleled strange power. In terms of strength alone, even monsters like Dylan are slightly inferior to him. Even at this point, Dylan still asked him to continuously practice the hardening and strength of his weapons. Therefore, near the G5 base, you can often see a fat body doing leapfrog along the beach with 2 warships on his shoulders. As for the armed color, Tom simply covered it and then stood still and allowed Belmere to attack him. It was Belmere himself who was injured. Damn it! Aren't we all human? How can the gap be so huge? Belmere slapped the table. Phew! Shiryu exhaled smoke. That guy is not a human, he is a fish man. Belmere raised his head and stared at Shiryu. What about you? You are a human, right? Shiryu narrowed his eyes and held the cigar between 3 fingers. Even humans are very different. Like him. Shiryu raised his chin in the direction of Dylan. Even if there is no fruit, in terms of haki, swordsmanship and physical skills alone, he is the top being in the sea. And Shiryu put Liu back into the scabbard. How old is he? After hearing Shiryu's words, Belmere lost her guard and left the group chat cursing. After Belmere went out, Dylan shook his chair and said to Shiryu, what you said makes sense. Her potential cannot be stimulated through exercise. Let's let her go to West Blue in 2 days. Go spend some time. Zhiguo is practicing his skills, and you follow him quietly. Unless you are in danger of death, you don't need to worry about him. The Kingdom of Flowers, the 8 Treasure Navy? I heard there are some troublesome guys in there too. It's not a big problem, Dylan stretched his body. With your current strength, you should be able to handle it even if you encounter Green Pepper. Chief Green Pepper. Shiryu's eyes flashed red. Feeling the madness in Shiryu's emotions, Dylan frowned. Your mission is to keep an eye on Belmere secretly, not to blindly vent your desire to kill. Ashura's will is to challenge the strong, not to meaninglessly slaughter the weak, Shiryu. Learn. Shiryu lowered his head slightly to indicate that he understood. Chapter 17. West Blue. The border of the flower country. Hey, this kind of country that mainly focuses on robbery. Belmere jumped off the warship with a cigarette in his mouth. The warship of the West Blue branch dropped off Belmere and then left. Looking at the land ahead, Belmere, who was wearing regular clothes, took out a map from his pocket. 8 Treasure Navy. It's just you. In the woods in the distance, Shiryu looked at the direction Belmere was leaving and muttered, this idiot won't just go to the Babao Navy, right? G5 branch. Dylan was lying on a lounge chair on the beach wearing sunglasses, looking at Tom who was practicing crazily on the sea in the distance. Umi Taiko. With an angry shout, the originally calm sea surface in the distance suddenly shrank. From a distance, it seems that the entire coastline has dropped a lot. Then a huge shock erupted around Tom's body. The G5 Marine standing next to Dylan was shaken by the powerful impact. Dylan's neck twisted slightly, and Marine next to him jumped up from the ground and stood neatly in a row. Humph! Dylan snorted slightly, and the G5 rogue Marines were motionless with cold sweat on their foreheads. Hey! Tom! Dylan called to Tom in the distance. When Tom heard Dylan's voice on the sea, his fat body jumped up from the sea and fell to everyone's position like a cannonball. Russell, the originally dusty scene, did not appear, and Tom landed lightly in front of Dylan. You go to the Fishman Island and do some errands. Tom threw his head back and laughed. Shiryu and Xiaomei have been away for almost 2 months. Is it finally my turn to make a sound? That may not be a good thing for you. Dylan looked at Tom with a half smile. Tom's expression straightened. Now that a man has made a choice, he must face it with a bang. Tell me, Dylan Rear Admiral, what is the mission of the bang? Go to the Fishman Island and see if Jinbei has kept his promise. If not, bring 2 people back for me. Who? Hody Jones and Vander Duncan, dead or alive. The Fishman Island. Are you? Mr. Tom, the shipwright of the Water City. Jinbei looked at the hornfish man in front of him who was almost the same height as him. Tom also looked at this compatriot who was running around for a stable life for his race. Thinking of the task Dylan gave him, he felt a little tangled in his heart, but he calmed down instantly. As he himself said, once you have made a choice, implement it to the end. No, I am Tom, a non-staff shipwright of the Marine G5 branch. Jinbei looked at Tom with a complicated expression. He knew something about Tom's life experience. But he didn't know that Tom actually joined Dylan's staff. Dylan Rear Admiral asked me to come over and ask you if you have fulfilled your agreement. No. Jinbei's face changed. and he said with some embarrassment, "Something happened a few days ago. The Fishman Island is in a very bad situation now." "Is this so?" Tom remembered that when he entered the Fishman Island just now, the atmosphere on the island was really weird. Everyone's face was filled with sadness and anger. "But..." Tom clenched his fist. "Dylan, Rear Admiral said, an agreement is an agreement, and 2 months is enough time for you to fulfill your promise. If it is not completed, then it will be up to me to recover the interest." Jinbei stiffened, as if he expected something. The so-called interest refers to Hody Jones and Vanda Duncan. Not good. Jinbei's heart tightened. Vanda Duncan was okay. Hody Jones is now the leader of Fishman Street. After Princess Otohim died, it was he who spread the word that humans had killed the princess. No. Jinbei refused immediately without thinking. Although Hody Jones, like Arlong, is both trash and trash. But he could not allow others to execute him so hastily. What's more, it's this critical period. Is that really the case? Tom looked a little disappointed. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't want to fight with the compatriots of the Fishman Island. But that man's orders cannot be disobeyed. Buzz. The jet black armed color instantly covered Tom's arms. Then, I, who is loud and clear, can only carry out his will. See Hero Jinbei. I have to. Before Jinbei could finish his words, Tom's huge fist struck him with a roaring sound that broke through the air. Same Washoken. Same Washoken. The two dark fists suddenly came into contact, and a circle of ripples visible to the naked eye swayed around them. Bang! Jinbei's figure swayed slightly and flew backwards. This is, what a power! Jinbei looked at Tom in surprise. I never heard that you have such a strong fighting ability, and your fishman karate seems to be somewhat different from ours. These are all gifts from that man. Let's save the small talk until the important business is done. Tom clenched his fists parallel to each other. Jinbei's pupils shrank when he saw his posture and he raised his fists. Umi Taiko. Umi Taiko. Sora. The two auras compressed and exploded at the same time, but the aura that erupted from Tom was far greater than that from Jinbei. This is Bo. The thick breath crushed through Jinbei's body. Cough. A violent impact penetrated Jinbei's body. After Jinbei tried hard to suppress it, he finally spit out a mouthful of blood. Tom walked up to Jinbei and looked at Jinbei, who was squatting on the ground. So, can I go find those two people? Jinbei had blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He stood up and said calmly, Go, Hody Jones is in Fishman Street. I hope you won't hurt other innocent people. As if thinking of something, Jinbei raised his hand to wipe the bloodline from the corner of his mouth. No. I'd better go with you, otherwise those idiots. Tom nodded. Except for the two people designated by Dylan, he was really unwilling to hurt other compatriots. He's not that Shiryu guy. When Jinbei and Tom walked into Fishman Street side by side, the eyes of the people around them were completely different. Some people's eyes were filled with admiration, while others' eyes were filled with disgust. Hey, Jinbei, you traitor, do you still have the nerve to return to Fishman Street? Hody Jones. Tom looked at the shark fish man wearing a beret in front of him. After Jinbei glanced around, he seemed to have made up his mind and said in a deep voice, Everyone except Hody Jones, please disperse. Why? Hody Jones showed 2 rows of fangs. You traitor, you want to capture me on behalf of mankind. Although he was furious, Jinbei still suppressed his anger and shouted, I am here to protect more people. And Hody Jones, you are not Brother Tai, and you cannot become the hero of the Fishman Island. He's just a loser blinded by hatred. Ah ha 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 ha. Jinbei, can you finally bear it? As more and more people gathered, some familiar faces also appeared. He was originally a member of the Sun Pirates. Jinbei. Some people looked puzzled. Is Jinbei really going to wipe out all the Fishman Street? If you choose to believe me, don't interfere. I will give you an explanation afterwards. Jinbei shouted at his original companion, and he felt very painful in his heart. My former partner. The members of the Sun Pirates hesitated for a moment, then looked at each other and retreated to both sides of the street, indicating that they would not interfere for the time being. Ha 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 ha, you guys, have you forgotten what humans have done to us? Hody Jones raised his arms and shouted loudly, but there are always people who have not forgotten. Nor should they forget. Hit the water. Hody Jones, who had been encouraging people just now, took action without warning, and a tiny droplet of water shot towards Jinbei like a sharp sword. Snapped. The flying water droplets were caught by Tom with his bare hands and held in his palm. It seems there is a misunderstanding. Let me clarify here. The one who came to arrest you is not Sea Hero Jinbei, but me. Marine G5 branch boatman, Tom. Marine. Marine. The expressions of the people around him changed, especially the former members of the Sun Pirates. Many people even took up arms. What's wrong? Tom shouted, the Dragon Palace Kingdom is also a member of the world government. Can't Marine be allowed to enter? Is the Fishman Island going to break away from the world government? As soon as Tom's words came out, even the members of the Sun Pirates were stunned. They are indeed pirates, and they also hate humans. But if they openly attack Marine and break away from the world government, the Fishman Island will be completely classified as a hostile force of the world government. This is definitely not the result they want. Jinbei's scalp also felt numb. Once these words spread to the land, hundreds of years of efforts of the Ryugu kingdom will be in vain. Don't leave yet. After the crowd whispered to each other for a while, most people finally backed away. The impact of being separated from the world government is definitely something they cannot bear. Hody Jones looked at the dispersing crowd with disdain on his face. You guys, the fishmen will be destroyed in your hands sooner or later. Then, all that's left are the diehards. Tom stared ahead at the man still standing with Hody Jones. Strike the water needle. The water droplets thrown by Hody just now turned into dozens of tiny water lines. Before Hody and others could react, it penetrated their bodies instantly. Poof. 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 Blood splattered, and everyone except Hody Jones fell to the ground unconscious in an instant. Bang! Tom jumped up and landed next to Hody Jones. Then a huge hand pressed down on Hody Jones' head. Baru baru, baru baru. Tom pressed answer, and the image of Dylan appeared. How's it going, Tom, is it done? I'm so sorry, there was a little problem, clang, I just got Hody Jones under control. Hody Jones. Dylan smiled on the other end of the phone. Tell the guys on the Fishman Island that Princess Otohim was not assassinated by humans, it was this guy he wanted to stop Otohim's peace talks, the gun he fired quietly, the gun he found, and there must be other witnesses around. What? The voice on the phone bug startled the others. Especially Jinbei, he has seen that man and knows the strength of that man. He has no need to lie. Jinbei's body trembled with rage. Hody Jones, how dare this guy, how dare? Ha 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 ha, Otohim that idiot. You talk about living in peace with humans, how stupid. Hody Jones, who was held down by Tom, laughed wildly. After being easily defeated by Tom, he knew that he could no longer survive. The fishmen were born to rule the sea and should not hide in the deep sea, compatriots. Kill him. Dylan's cold voice sounded from the phone bug. Tom took a breath, then tightened his palms. Rough shark. Snap. Hody Jones's skull shattered and his voice suddenly disappeared. Dylan seemed to be in a bad mood, and the voice on the phone became impatient. Find Vanda Duncan, kill him directly, and then return to the base to recover. Yes. The phone bug fell into a deep sleep, and the Fishman Street also fell into deathly silence. Chapter 18. Outside the Fishman Island, Jinbei stands next to Tom. Although it's a bit presumptuous, I still want to ask, why did you take action against Vanda Duncan? I don't know, but I believe that man will not give orders to me without reason, and even if it is an order without reason, I will carry it out. Tom clenched his fists, and there was a huge black shadow swimming towards the Fishman Island in front of him. It's me and Jinmi. He's just a child who isn't very sensible. Please give me some time to persuade him to leave Vanda Duncan's command. Hurry up, you just heard that the man doesn't seem to be in a good mood. Jinbei nodded and walked in front of Tom. Hey, see you in my engine. Oh? It's Boss Jinbei, what's the matter? My Anzami's childlike voice sounded, which looked extremely weird and funny when paired with his full beard and chest hair. Vanda Duncan is not worthy of your following, and he is about to be arrested. You what? Want to arrest the captain? Before Jinbei could finish speaking, my engine exclaimed, unforgivable. Matsumai was dragging a huge and dilapidated ship behind him, like a legendary ghost ship. On the boat, the four-legged Vanda Duncan laughed strangely when he heard me and Jinbei's voice. He, Come and catch me? Jinbei. See you in my engine. Kill him. Yes. Captain. After receiving the order from Fanda Duncan, Mitsumi raised his fist and smashed it towards Jinbei. Those who want to do harm to the captain should be buried in the sea. Jinbei's face darkened, his right foot retreated slightly, and his right fist was raised. The secret of Fishman Karate, beckons. The huge water ball spun in front of Jinbei's palm and then penetrated Mitsumi's body. Wow, it hurts, it hurts. Under the high pressure of the deep sea, the power of Jinbei's beckons is greatly reduced. He only beat my engine until he vomited blood, but he did not lose his fighting ability. Damn, deterrence. Millions of bald heads. Mian Jinjian opened his big mouth, and the air and sea water from the seabed poured into his body. The already huge body inflated like a balloon, approaching Jinbei and Tom. Fishman. Jinbei took a slight breath and prepared to take action again. Enough. Let the farce end here. Tom walked to Jinbei and raised his hand to stop Jinbei. Then Jinbei saw Tom assuming the same pose. Jinbei was stunned. There seemed to be a big difference in how Tom and other fishmen used the same moves. Isn't even Tekker Yuiken different? On Tom's fist, the water ball was rotating at a super high speed, and the density of the water ball was compressed to an extremely terrifying level. The secret of Fishman Karate, Warei, Star Pass, boom. The high pressure impact, which exceeded beckons several times, enveloped Matsumi's huge body, and the huge shock wave even shattered the ghost ship behind it. Well. My engine rolled his eyes and fell down. The ghost ship was also torn apart. The huge shock wave did not stagnate at all after penetrating my engine, me and the ghost ship, and still rushed towards the deep sea. Seen from a distance, it looks like a comet. Tom stamped his foot and launched his huge body like a torpedo. Fanda Duncan was found among the fragments of the ghost ship, having his swimming coating shattered by Bulaken. Fanda Duncan, the target fruit user, had already rolled his eyes at this moment. Jinbei came to Tom's side shortly after. He attacked Princess Shirahoji many times, it's not as good as. Although he was shocked by Tom's use of Barajiki just now, Jinbei still did not forget his duty. With your strength, couldn't you catch him early on? Jinbei. Jinbei was also stunned for a moment. Yes. If he had taken action against someone like Fanda Duncan, he would have solved it long ago, right? Although I don't know why that man hates him so much, I believe this guy must have a reason to die. Tom held Fanda Duncan's head with one hand and raised it high. I think that man's words are very reasonable. Kindness to your enemies is cruelty to your friends. Tom's hand flashed with water, shark. Like Hody Jones, Fanda Duncan's head was shattered and his limbs hung limply. After throwing Fanda Duncan's body aside, Tom said to Jinbei, I have heard your story and admire what you have done for the Fishmen Island, but you, who are so indecisive and womanly, are you trying to protect the Fishmen Island? Jinbei. Oh. Did you say that to Fatty Blue? Dylan looked at the somewhat uneasy Tom in front of him thoughtfully. Ah, that's it. I feel that a man like that shouldn't be like this. Is that so? Dylan nodded indifferently. What about you? What do you think about this trip? Tom raised his furry palm and scratched his head. Not really. Dylan laughed. How strong is Jinbei, one of the Shishibukai? Tom showed a trace of doubt. Dang, I am also a little confused. Isn't the 7 warlords of the sea a big pirate? Why? Dylan raised his feet and said leisurely, it's not that he is weak, but that you are strong enough now, Tom. Of course, it has not reached the strength I expected. So, it's not time to relax yet. Wait for you, Shiryu. When Belmir and others are strong enough, we will work together to end this era of chaos and restore peace to the sea. You can also return to the water city, and I will help you spread sea trains all over the sea. An ocean. Tom showed a longing look. I'm really looking forward to that day. Then Tom seemed to remember something, lowered his head and asked again, the Fishman Karate I use seems to be different from others. Of course, Dylan lit up his cigarette. What you practice is what the world government has compiled and perfected over the past 800 years. What they practice is just what has been passed down from generation to generation. Maybe theirs is more authentic, but yours is definitely more powerful. Understood. Tom nodded, showing a questioning look. Dylan shook his head and signaled he could go out. Seeing Tom's back, Dylan smiled. This guy is truly a treasure. Although his talent is different from that of King Luffy, and he cannot master Conqueror's Winding in 3 hours, he is definitely at the monster level. When he masters the use of all armed colors and increases the intensity of the armed colors to another level, there are only a handful of people in this sea who can fight him hand to hand. If it were in the ocean, he would be invincible. Baru baru, baru baru. The blue phone bug rang, and Dylan was a little surprised. 5 elders took the initiative to call themselves. Hello. Adams Dylan. We received news from the Dragon Palace Kingdom, and your subordinates clarified the misunderstanding between humans and fishmen. Ho Neptune, this salted fish, is quite sensible. Facing the 5 elders, Dylan did not show too much obsequiousness. The 5 elders seemed a little surprised by his attitude, but then they were relieved. As one of the representatives of the alien race, the attitude of the fishman also plays a very important role in the stability of the world government. This time you have made great contributions. How should you be rewarded? Actively explode equipment? Dylan rubbed his fingers. Something's not right. 5 elders are so easy to talk to. Don't you just smile on the face and prepare to kill Lao Zi in your heart? But it's hard to ask this question directly. Dylan opened his mouth. It should be done, but I happen to have something to ask you for help with, so why not consider it as this reward? Oh? Tell me about it. Dylan looked at the fortune fruit placed on the bookcase next to him. I heard that Vegapunk has done a lot of research on devil fruit and has made preliminary progress in object fusion. I want him to help me fuse a fruit. Is that all? We agreed, and CP members will go to you later to understand your detailed needs. If there are orders, we will convey them directly to Vegapunk. After saying that, 5 elders hung up the phone. Looking at the extinguished phone bug, Dylan frowned slightly. What was the reason for 5 elders to contact me? The mere incident of the fishman is definitely not enough to cause such a huge change in the attitude of the 5 elders. Could it be that person? Dylan thought of Marie Joy, Throne of the Void. The only thing that can have such a huge impact on the 5 elders is it. Chapter 19. Dylan Rear Admiral, today's paper. Dylan took the newspaper and glanced at it, his brows instantly furrowed. Don Quixote. Doflamingo becomes king of Dressrosa. This flamingo, is this year? After rubbing his eyebrows, Dylan threw the newspaper aside. Forget it, not everything can be taken care of in this current situation. Seeing that the messenger hadn't gone out yet, Dylan was a little surprised. Is there anything else? The messenger took out another newspaper. It's West Blue's newspaper, and it seems to be related to Mr. Shiryu and the others. Shiryu. With Shiryu's strength, he should have no rivals in West Blue, so how could he be in the newspapers? The Red Hair Pirates landed in the Kingdom of Flowers and started a battle with a mysterious man, with the outcome unknown. Dylan narrowed his eyes. Red hair. Is one hand too much? He picked up Shuoluokong from the table and put his head down over his shoulder and told the orderer, "Tell Tom that I will be away for a few days and let him take care of the house." Yes. West Blue, within the Kingdom of Flowers. Ahem, you guy, you are so impulsive. Red-haired Shanks is not a good opponent. Belmere leaned against the rock, looking sluggish. Under the tree trunk opposite, Shiryu closed his eyes and ignored Belmere. Trouble, ahem. Shut up, you idiot. Shiryu took a breath and interrupted Belmere. If you didn't have to go to the Babao Navy to cause trouble, why would you be entangled by the red hair? Belmere cut it, took out a cigarette and lit it, but after just one puff, his lungs were injured. Ahem. Ahem. A treasure navy? These bandits, ahem, forget it, the phone bug is broken now, we can only hope that little Dylan can realize our crisis. The carefree Belmere put out his cigarette, closed his eyes, and looked extremely pale. Shiryu raised his eyes and looked at the woman opposite. I have to admit that although this guy is weak, the courage and fearlessness she displays in battle have earned Shiryu's respect. Come on, Dylan. This stupid woman can't hold on any longer. In the distant woods, there was a rustling sound, and Shiryu forced himself to hold on to Thunderstorm. Don't be nervous. We are CP members stationed in the Kingdom of Flowers. We have been ordered to search for you too. After recognizing the identity of the person, Shiryu breathed a sigh of relief and said to CP, have you brought a doctor? That woman. Opposite Shiryu, Belmere's head has fallen to the side, and his face has turned sallow. Yes, according to the report from the Flower Kingdom branch, Commander Belmere Lieutenant is seriously injured and can only barely maintain his vital signs at the moment. Dylan hung in the air and looked at the phone bug coldly. Don't talk so much nonsense to me, you just need to tell me, will she die? CP0 was silent for a moment. Not yet, but use all the capabilities of your CP organization to send her to the Drum Kingdom as quickly as possible. Notify me when she arrives. If she dies on the way, you know the consequences. CP0 did not refute, and said after a slight pause, okay. And lightning flashed around Dylan's body. Where is the red hair's ship? I want the specific location. The border of the Flower Country. Red hair pirates, Red Force. Shanks. Ben Beckman looked at the injured Lucky Lu and then at the serious-faced captain. Just yesterday, on their way to the Great Glacier in the Land of Flowers, they encountered Green Pepper being chased by Shiryu of the Rain. Although the reason was not given, Shanks immediately went to help the leader Qing Jiao. During the fight between the two sides, Lucky Lu was hit by Shiryu's slash and was seriously injured, while Shiryu himself was also seriously injured by Shanks. As for that woman, she was severely beaten by Usopp, who was furious because his partner was injured. Shiryu of the Rain turns out to be that man's subordinate. And that woman. After learning the news through special channels, Shanks fell into silence. Looking at the unconscious Lucky Lu in the cabin, Shanks' eyes flashed with determination. No matter what, you can't give up on your companions. What is that? On the mast, the lookout's voice trembled. Shanks and Ben Beckman seemed to sense something, looking into the distance with serious expressions. On the distant sea, endless dark clouds wrapped in violent thunder were pressing towards Red Force's position. The disaster-like scene stunned everyone on board. When dark clouds covered the entire sky, an emotionless voice sounded in everyone's ears. Who injured my subordinate? The members of the Red Hair Pirates looked at the figure slowly descending from the thundercloud, and some of the less physically fit crew members had fainted uncontrollably. Gu the Cotters gulped. This momentum was even more terrifying than before. No one answered. Dylan drew out the Shura. As soon as the red blade was exposed to the air, the bloody smell spread over the entire sea. Bang! Usopp raised his spear. The bullet covering armament haki flew towards Dylan's forehead instantly. It's me, how about it, UBD Marine? Shanks opened his mouth slightly, smiled bitterly, and then took out his sword. Griffin. Get ready to fight and go all out. The bullet flew less than a meter away from Dylan's eyes and seemed to be held by invisible hands, and then fell into the sea. Very good. Suspended in the air, Dylan looks at the red hair pirates on the sea. The thunder clouds rolled, and the thunder clouds were tangled and intertwined in the clouds. Even though everyone in the red hair pirates tried their best to release armament haki, they still felt the hair on their bodies trembling and their skin numbing slightly. Logia awakens. Shanks' face darkened, and the Black Conqueror's haki instantly covered Griffin. God avoids. A huge slash shot into the sky and flew towards Dylan. Faced with Roger's famous stunt and Shanks' powerful Conqueror's haki, Dylan did not take it lightly. Judgment of Crime.no Life. Haki, who was slightly different from the red-haired one, wrapped around Shura's blade, and Haki's slash with a strong smell of blood erupted from Shura's blade. The moment the slashes collided, the thunderclouds in the sky were split into two. Shanks on the boat and Dylan in the air both held their own weapons and poured power into them. Bang bang! 2 gunshots were fired. A blast from Usopp's spear. A shot from Ben Beckman's pistol. Usopp's bullet was ignored by Dylan, but Ben Beckman's bullet was wrapped around Conqueror's haki. Son of ABCH. Dylan gritted his teeth, took Shura's hands and pressed them. 2 stalemate slashes broke out in the air, and the surrounding sea surged instantly, as if being cut off from all directions. Dylan's figure flashed and disappeared instantly. Gone. One Cotter looked shocked. Shanks, Ben Beckman, and Usopp looked serious. No, not. The clouds that had been cut off by the slash gathered again, giving people the illusion that they had solidified. And the thunder in it has become even more amazing. Violent thunder continued to hit the sea. Red Force is like a helpless leaf floating in the thunder. Be careful. Shanks' pupils shrank suddenly. In the thundercloud, a giant Minos Grande figure with only one leg emerged. Kuei Niu. The shadow swooped down from the thundercloud, as if it were alive. Full defense, boom. As the sea collapsed, the crew members on the Red Force released their haki to defend themselves against the ferocious beasts in the sky. Puff. As the cotters fell to the ground, Shank's hands began to shake. This kind of power, already. Just when Shank's strength was about to run out, the lightning finally dimmed. Hey! Shanks gasped and was about to speak. A cotter who had not yet fallen to the ground screamed, Yasop! BD Marine! How dare you! Yasop, who was standing with everyone, disappeared. In the sky, Dylan pinched Yasop's neck, and with the blessing of armament Haki, the huge force squeezed Jesus' throat until it made a click sound. Adams Dylan, give me! Give it to your mother! Dylan looked at Shanks, who are you? Are you worthy of me giving you face? Snapped. Jesus' neck bones were broken, and his body hung limply. Yasop! Yasop! Dylan threw Yasop's body onto the sea. As if he was still not relieved, a bolt of thunder fell and the body floating on the sea instantly turned into debris. You! Shanks gasped, eyes blazing. My buddy! Do you think you can leave? Redhead. The thunderclouds in the sky showed no signs of dissipating, and one could even faintly hear the roars of beasts in the thunderclouds. Baru baru, baru baru. The blue phone rang, and Dylan hung up impatiently. Baru baru, baru baru. Oh shit! Dylan answered and looked at the blonde five elders. Adams Dylan, stop it. The person who attacked your subordinates has been executed, so let's stop it. The red-haired man cannot die now, balance. Without his red hair, there would still be black hair, white hair, green hair, whatever nonsense in the sea. After killing him, there will be balance. Dylan stared at the phone bug, refusing to give in. You know in your heart that this is not the case. And this man is different from other great pirates. Adams Dylan, this is what Lord I means. The other party didn't hide it and directly said Im's name. Dylan stared at the phone bug. What does it mean? Stop pretending? Showdown? Do you know that I know about Im's existence? How do you know that? The identity of Lao Zi's time traveler is exposed? As compensation, Marie Joyce will grant you the additional rank of Vice Admiral and compensate you with a devil fruit. You know, Marie Joyce's fruits are all of those legendary varieties. A sense of crisis surged into his heart, and Dylan was shocked. Wrong. Even though I can't predict the future like Ka can with my FG knowledge. But with Sky Island's unique heart network training method, it is absolutely impossible to hide the movements within a few kilometers or even a dozen kilometers around you. How the hell did the five elders know that they had killed Yasop, so they took the opportunity to call? Is that it? I'm? Good. Dylan looked at the phone bug. Marie Joyce just breathed a sigh of relief when Dylan's voice sounded again. It's a tie this time, but only this time. The five elders were silent and seemed to acquiesce to this statement. Looking at the broken red force on the sea, Dylan's eyes flashed fiercely. But in the end I endured it. Where did this guy come from? Chapter 20. Drum Island. The wind and snow roared all over the sky. Dylan didn't have time to complain about why there was such weather at the equatorial part of the planet. After several days of waiting, the ship organized by CP has successfully escorted Belmere to the Drum Kingdom. Our mission. The leading CP member looked at Dylan and was about to put down Belmere and leave. Where to go? Dylan snorted coldly, do you want me to carry her up myself? The CP members were silent for a moment and then waved back. The crew members on the ship followed Dylan up the mountain carrying the stretcher. After boarding Dr. Kulha's castle, Dylan waved his hand to signal the CP people to get out. The CP members didn't pay attention and left with the others. Is it her? Dr. Kulha looked at the unconscious Belmere with a serious expression, the injury is quite serious. Dylan sat aside and didn't say anything. He just looked at Dr. Kulha, is it possible to be sure of a cure? It will be a complete one without leaving any sequelae. Dylan felt a little frightened when he saw it. Dr. Kulha was silent for a moment and then said, it was a bit difficult. She was penetrated by the powerful Haki in the internal organs. She did not lose her life because her will was supporting her. No. Dylan stood up and walked to the window. I'm going to New World and will be back in about a month. Is there no problem in saving his life during this time? No problem. Dr. Kulha nodded, and after receiving the answer, Dylan disappeared. A bolt of lightning flew towards New World. Looking at the distant lightning, Dr. Kulha was silent for a moment and then shook his head, awesome kid. New World, Dressrosa. Doflamingo, who had just become king, was reading the newspaper in the palace. Marine Rear Admiral fought alone against Red Hair Pirates in West Blue, and the third figure of Red Hair Pirates, Yasop, died. Beep, bark, 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 he's such a powerful guy. Although there is no picture, Doflamingo knows the strength of Red Hair Pirates. And the man who had met him once in Demon Valley Town actually had such strength. Are you complimenting me? A voice sounded, and a man sat leaning on the windowsill of the palace. Baby5, who looked like a maid next to her, turned around and raised her hand without thinking when she heard the voice. As she raised her hand, her arm transformed into a gun. Back off! Doflamingo shouted lowly. Baby5 was stunned at first, and then asked in disbelief, "Young master?" Dylan looked at Baby5 and Doflamingo indifferently. Before Dylan could speak, Doflamingo grabbed Baby 5's wrist and pressed down the muzzle of the gun. He shouted again with a sullen face, "Back off!" After Baby5 left, Doflamingo sat down again. "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Vice Admiral." "Dark Dragon." Dylan was slightly startled. "Hey, it seems you don't know yet, Dylan, your code name is Dark Dragon." "Humph," Dylan looked at Doflamingo. "Wasn't this BD originally so lawless that anyone dared to provoke him? I came to ask for someone." "You want someone?" Doflamingo's face darkened. "Who do you want?" "I am 7 warlords of the sea, you." Seeing Dylan's expression getting colder, Doflamingo forced himself to swallow the next words. "You're not asking for my family, are you? What do I want with those stinky fish and shrimps of yours? Give me Mangsari." "No." Doflamingo's veins were exposed instantly. "Mangsalai can't do it. She is of great use to me." "Is Laozi negotiating with you? You don't think that Shi Shibukai's identity can really protect you, do you? You little sparrow who doesn't care about life and death." Dylan jumped down from the windowsill, inserted Shura's scabbard into the ground, and then pulled Shura out smoothly. Doflamingo's breath stagnated. "This man. He's coming for real. World government. Stop FG world government. You're just a little BD who knows a little booger-sized secret." Shura's red blade rubbed against the ground, sparks flying. "I'll give you a minute, how about you try asking someone for help now? Sengoku? Kaido? Or Marie Joyce? Manchurai, you have to return it after you use it." Faced with the murderous intention revealed in Dylan, Doflamingo finally gave in. This is a BD who doesn't play by the rules of the game, it's even more outrageous than him. "Are you bargaining with me? What qualifications do you have to bargain with Laozi?" Dylan took out a cigarette and lit it. After taking a puff, Dylan put the cigarette upside down on top of the cake that Baby5 had just brought over. "Time is limited, don't give you a chance and you won't use it." Doflamingo gritted his teeth and shouted towards the door, "Torble! Bring Mangsalai up!" Torble at the door poked his head out and took a look and immediately exclaimed, Dark Dragon? Dover! Go quickly!" Doflamingo shouted. As the cigarette burned and Dylan looked at him, the sweat on Doflamingo's forehead gradually became denser. Just when the sparks were about to burn to the level of the cigarette butt, Torble rolled up a girl the size of a thumb to the top. You. The moment Mangsalai looked at Doflamingo, tears welled up in her eyes. Seeing Mangsalai's pitiful appearance, even Dylan, who was filled with murderous intent, couldn't help but feel a little distressed. Dylan glanced at Torble, who was so frightened that he trembled all over and gently rolled Manshiri up to Dylan. "Can you do me a favor? My friend is seriously injured and needs medical attention. She is a Marine, a very kind Marine." Mangsalai clasped her little hands together and looked up at Dylan. "Are you Marine too? But why?" "Ah, I'm Marine too, in return." Dylan turned to look at Doflamingo. "Laozi knows what you are planning. You can't do this business, and all the little humans who were deceived and imprisoned by you will be killed." Laozi put it back. After thinking for a moment, Dylan looked away and looked at Manshiri. "With this guy here, Greenbit is not very safe. Do you have to live there?" Mangsalai shook her head. "No, the place we are at is Greenbit." Dylan nodded. "Then are you willing to move? Go to the place where I am stationed. It is safer there." Doflamingo's eyes burned with anger as he listened to Dylan's words. "This BD. The small human race is a very important step in my plan. He actually. What happened to me?" Dylan suddenly raised his head and looked at Doflamingo. put away your dangerous thoughts and take advantage of the fact that I am not in such a bad mood now. The muscles on Doflamingo's face trembled for a moment, as if his body had been hollowed out, and he turned to Torbil and said, "Bring those little humans up." Hearing these words, Mangzalai had an incredible look on his face. The bad guy in pink clothes in front of her was actually willing to let her tribe go? It was the hero who saved them. Mansheli flew to Dylan's shoulders and clasped his hands together. "You must be the legendary hero who can save the Dantata kingdom. Can you tell me your name?" "My name is Dylan. Adams Dylan." Dylan looked at Mansheli and said with a smile. "Dylan Lando, thank you." When the 500 tired little humans were brought up and saw Mangzalai in the room, they all gathered around. "Princess, are you healed?" "Princess." Mansheli stood on Dylan's shoulder and pointed at Doflamingo and said loudly, "I am not sick, it was the bad guy who deceived us." Then Mansheli pointed at Dylan and said, "Dylan Lando saved us. It's so awesome. Dylan Lando. Dylan Lando." After buzzing for a while, Dylan glanced at the livid Doflamingo and then at Mansheri. "Let's go back to Greenbit first. Your king still needs to decide on the migration." When he reached the door, Dylan stopped and looked back at Doflamingo. "If they have not migrated, that is their freedom. But if you let me know that you step into Greenbit again, Lao Zi will kill you." Doflamingo lowered his head and said nothing, and Dylan had no intention of asking for an answer from him. After Dylan left the palace, a powerful conqueror's blast erupted from the top of the palace. Dylan glanced up disdainfully. "If some things hadn't been figured out yet, I would kill you right now." After following the small humans back to Greenbit, Dylan met Gan Qiao, the leader of the Dong Da tribe, and was warmly received by the Dong Da tribe. After the banquet was over, Gan Qiao sat across from Dylan. After a moment of silence, Gan Qiao said, "Man surely is right. We do not exist attached to Greenbit. The place where we are is Greenbit. But..." Gan Qiao's expression was somewhat solemn. "In order to abide by a certain promise, we cannot leave here. Therefore..." Dylan nodded, "That is also your freedom. I have warned Doflamingo. Before I fall, he will not have the guts to attack you again." "Really? I really appreciate your taking care of me. In that case..." Gan Qiao leaned on crutches and pondered for a moment before saying, "We can't guarantee Mangzalai's safety for the time being. Let her follow you, and besides..." Gan Qiao stamped his cane, and the scene suddenly became quiet. "Leo, Cabu, Wicca, and Bien, you can go too. Follow Dylan Lando." Leo's eyes lit up. "That's right," Gan Qiao nodded and said to Dylan, "They are all the best warriors among young people. In addition to guarding Mangzalai, they will also perform your mission." "Ha!" Leo screamed in displeasure. "Really, the princess is willful, has a bad temper, and likes to hit people. Why do we have to do this kind of thing?" "Leo." Mangzalai rode on Leo's head and punched him. "What are you talking about?" "Leo. It hurts, it hurts. Come down quickly, princess, you are too fat. Really, you are such a savage and bad-hearted woman." On the coast of Greenbit, Dylan took Mansheli, Leo, and others aboard the CP organization's ship. Gan Qiao stood on the shore and looked at the sails going away, leaning on his crutches with both hands. "Gan Qiao, does this really not violate the promise?" An old man with the same white beard and hair walked up to Gan Qiao and looked at the sea. Gan Qiao did not answer, and under his sunglasses, it was not clear what his expression was. Chapter 21. With the Dantata clan in hand, Dylan had no choice but to take a boat back to Drum Island. Neither Mansheli nor Leo could withstand the friction caused by ultra-high-speed movement. This is why Dylan told Dr. Kulha from the beginning that he would need a month to go back. Halfway through the voyage, two CP ships came close to each other. Dylan looked at the CP-0 who had never shown his face. "I'm just using your boat, why are you looking so bad?" This time, CP-0 did not say anything like, "According to regulations, you cannot directly command CP." Instead, he said slightly teasingly, "Maybe you are the real commander of CP-0. Given Manchali's abilities, Belmir's injury was safe, and Dylan's mood improved. "Tell me, what's the matter?" CP-0 put the suitcase in front of Dylan and took out a small box from his arms. "This is the fruit Marie Joyce promised you before, and what you commissioned Vegapunk to make." "Hey!" Dylan ignored the suitcase on the floor and took the lead in taking the small box into his hand. A silver-grey ring lay in the box. Vegapunk said that the ring itself is made of a special alloy. At present, no one or any means can destroy it with brute force. Of course, some weirder fruit abilities cannot be ruled out. Dylan put the ring on his finger, and a strange feeling appeared in his consciousness. Looking at the suitcase on the ground and CP0 standing opposite, Dylan raised the corner of his mouth. CP0 disappeared in place. Ring space. CP0 stands in the empty castle. Don't make such silly jokes, let me out quickly, I still have a mission. Dylan's mind moved, and CP0 appeared on the spot again. Not bad, I'm very satisfied. Dylan looked at the ring on his hand with great joy. The space ring is awesome. He picked up the suitcase and opened it and took a look. It was a red gold devil fruit. The texture of the fruit showed a sharp feather shape. What breed? CP0 looked at the fruit in his hand and seemed a little envious. Zoan bird fruit phantom beast species Garuda form. Garuda? The kind that specializes in eating dragons? So cute. Do you want it steamed or braised? However, currently I don't have anyone suitable to eat this fruit. But it's always good to collect more good things. After putting away the fruits, Dylan looked at the 4 warriors of the Dantata tribe who were practicing on the boat for a while. Hey, Leo. Leo heard Dylan's voice and came to Dylan's side just for a moment. Dylan Lando. Leo stood in front of Dylan seriously, as if waiting for his order. Hey? Why are you so serious? Dylan was a little strange. Leo hesitated for a moment and then said, the king told me before we came that we came here bearing the fate of the Dongtata clan, and also bearing the name of justice. So please tell me anything. You are really reliable, Soldier Commander Leo. Leo looked at Dylan, a little embarrassed, but still tensed his little body. That's right, Leo, your racial talents are very special. Of course, I'm not talking about cultivating plants, but your physical fitness. The Dongtata tribe are born with strength several times higher than that of humans, similar to Leo and Vika, and even have dozens of times the strength of ordinary people. They are short in size but move very quickly, and are very suitable for shuttles in the battlefield to find weak points. I've thought of something very suitable for you. With your talents, you should be able to master it easily. What is it? Dylan Lando. Leo's eyes lit up. As a warrior, he also thirsts for power. Especially when Princess Mansheli and her friends were kidnapped and he was unable to do anything. One is Marine's unique technique called 6 styles. The other is Haki. Dylan thought for a while and then said, although Marine 6 styles has 7 moves, I don't think the others are applicable to you. You can just focus on practicing shave, moonwalk and finger pistol. As for Haki, if with your strength and the hardening of the weapon color, the combat effectiveness should be significantly improved. On the way to Drum Island, Dylan carefully explained to them the use of 6 styles and Haki. In order to avoid that his explanation was not detailed enough, Dylan would pull out CP0 as a guest lecturer from time to time. Although 6 styles is known as Marine 6 styles, the real experts have to be the CP organization. Shave. Leo's figure flashed, and if Dylan's vision hadn't been strong enough, there would have been no way to capture his movements. Not bad. Leo, this move is really suitable for you. Thank you very much. Dylan Lando. Leo stood in front of Dylan and bowed. Just when Dylan was about to be polite, the whole boat shook crazily. Boom. Boom. In the far corner, Wicca was hammering the deck frantically. Damn it, why am I so weak? Why am I so stupid, why can't I always learn? Looking at the shattered deck, CP0 and Dylan, who were standing next to Dylan, looked at each other. That, Wicca, Wicca, Wicca. Stop hammering now. If you hammer again, the ship will sink. Seeing Wicca, whose hands were covered with shiny armament Haki, kneeling in the corner and beating the ground crazily because she didn't learn how to shave, Dylan quickly stopped her loudly. Ah! Dylan Lando. I'm sorry, did I cause you trouble again? I'm such an idiot, damn it, Seeing that Wicca was about to lie down on the ground and cause secondary damage to the deck, Dylan quickly said loudly, Stop, stop, stop. Don't hammer it yet. Although the boat is not his own, hammering it will delay the journey. CP0 turned his head and looked at Dylan expressionlessly. Wicca wiped away tears and walked to Dylan, crying and said, Dylan Lando. Dylan stretched out his hand, and Wicca jumped into his hand with some embarrassment. Looking at Wicca who was still crying, Dylan flicked her forehead. Who said you are weak? As soon as this topic was brought up, Wicca's tears immediately fell again. Leo and the others have failed in the June 4th movement, but I have not failed in learning anything. Didn't you learn armament haki? Armed color. Haki. Didn't you find anything wrong when you hammered the ship just now? Wicca raised her hand and wiped her tears. No. I just feel stupid and sad. The awakening of the unconscious? But this character? Tisk, forget it, leave it to Belmere. They are all women anyway. Woman. After finally appeasing Wicca, the ship finally arrived at Drum Island. When everyone returned to Dr. Kulha's castle, Belmere had already woken up. The moment she saw Dylan, Belmere grinned. I've caused trouble for you, Dylan. Dylan rolled his eyes at her and said angrily, now do you know why I didn't cause trouble for the pirates in New World? Belmere laughed, I'm being disliked again. Although both of them had mean words, they couldn't hide the concern and gratitude in their eyes. Dr. Kulha sat beside Belmere's bed, drinking wine, and was relieved to see Dylan back. This woman's injuries were indeed beyond the ability of ordinary people to heal. What was he going to do? Manshiri, please. Dylan turned his head and looked at Manshiri sitting on his shoulder, and said seriously. When Sherry Man flew out, Dylan suddenly thought of something and said again, just treat her injuries. Sherry Man, don't waste your life to let her return to her original state. Your health will also be damaged. It's very important. Mangzalai was startled in the air and wrung her hands together. She originally planned to use her special ability to heal the woman in front of her. After all, this is the first time Dylan Lando has asked her to do something. A small human race. Dr. Kulha looked at Mangzalai, a little confused. Belmere is not a plant, a little human. 2 drops of crystal tears slid down Mangsuli's cheeks. Mangsuli held them with his hands and sprinkled them on Belmere. After only 2 breaths, Belmere's body recovered. Healing fruit. Dr. Kulha said with a smile, what an amazing ability. Snapped. Next to the wall in the distance, there is a civet cat, no, a reindeer with its head hidden in the wall and its body exposed. Chopper, come here, they are my friends, they are good people. Belmere waved to the reindeer. Hey Belmere, are you healed? Chopper was very surprised when he saw Belmere who had recovered from health. Yes. It is a healing fruit that can cure all diseases and injuries. Of course, Dr. Chopper's care these days is also very important. Chopper is a very great doctor. I won't be happy. Even if you praise me like this, I won't be happy looking at this squirming Chopper. Dylan had a weird look on his face. Everyone's fruit, phantom beast species, common people's form? Chapter 22. This is my assistant, the reindeer who ate everyone's fruit, Tony Chopper. Feeling Dylan's gaze, Chopper once again hid himself in reverse. Members of the Straw Hats. Dylan glanced at Chopper thoughtfully, then stood up and said to Belmere, let's go back to G5. Before going out, Dylan said to Dr. Kulha, in the future, you can make a request to me that does not violate the principles of justice as payment for this medical treatment. After Dylan and Belmere left, Dr. Kulha looked at the direction they were leaving and sighed. Mother Dolly. Chopper looked at Dr. Kulha, who looked a little serious, with confusion in his eyes. What a pity, Chopper. Dr. Kulha knelt down and touched Chopper's head. Dr. Kulha smiled bitterly, it seems that I didn't get his friendship, this promise. Looking at the Sakura flower pirate flag floating outside the window, Dr. Kulha sighed softly in her heart, I hope this promise can protect you once in the future. Belmere followed Dylan on the mountain road, her cigarette back in hand after she recovered. Dylan, Dr. Kulha, and Chopper shouldn't be bad people, why? Dylan walked in the snow with Shura on his shoulders, and the little human sat on his and Belmere's shoulders. They are indeed not bad people, but fate will eventually separate us. This feeling. Dylan stopped in the snow and looked sideways at Belmere, you will understand in the future. Ha! Dylan Lando, the patriarch and the great elder often say these words about fate. Sitting on Dylan's shoulder, Mangzalai looked at Dylan's profile, and she thought of the very old elder under Greenbit. He always stood in front of that strange stone, muttering about promise and destiny. Really? Dylan turned around and smiled, then asked Manshirley, so, does Princess Manshirley believe in fate? Manshirley nodded affirmatively, I believe it was fate that brought Dylan Lando to Dressrosa and Greenbit. That's it, that's really good. By the way Dylan, I also heard Dr. Kulha tell the story of Chopper, the man named Siruluk. Belmir. Dylan laughed as he walked. It is undeniable that the guy Shaluluk did shine in the last moments of his life, but, this little brilliance of humanity, can cover him up. The fact that he was once a robber. Belmir's body stiffened. Before he said anything, Dylan ignored the surprised Belmir and continued to move forward. Some people have been villains all their lives, and in the end they only did one trivial good deed and were praised by the world. Some people have stuck to justice their whole life. He just did one wrong thing and was despised by thousands of people. The people are always ignorant. I don't have expectations for most people, but Belmir. I think you should make your own judgment because you are a soldier. Ever since she met Dylan, Belmir had rarely heard him speak to her in such a serious tone. These words also affected Belmir greatly. Some monks warn the world, put down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha immediately. I don't really agree. If every villain puts down the butcher's knife at the last moment, does that mean that his past sins can be wiped out? This is unfair. It's also unreasonable. Of course, people's hearts are unpredictable. Maybe one day in the future, Belmir, you will also see me killing someone who you think is not worthy of death or even completely innocent for no reason. Man, when that time comes, Belmir, how will you choose? Belmir in the snow frowned. 10 years ago in the Wheat Kingdom of East Blue, she personally participated in a battle with pirates. The battle was extremely tragic and she was seriously injured. It was there that Nami and Nakajeo were picked up. In Coco West Village, she witnessed Arlong's brutality, and she almost lost her life. In the West Blue Flower Country, she saw how powerless people lived in a country that relied on robbery for a living. East Blue, compared to other sea areas and great shipping routes. Already too happy. During the 2 months of training at the headquarters, she also learned that, apart from the restrictions on the route, the biggest contributors to all of this were Marine's hero, Vice Admiral Garp and the man in front of her. The name The Weakest Sea is just a joke among pirates. But it is a very lucky thing for the people. The howling wind and snow passed over Belmir's pink hair. In the wind and snow, the figure of the man in front did not show any hesitation, but extremely lonely. Belmir clenched her fists. No. It shouldn't be like this, it shouldn't be like this. In an instant, huge coercion erupted from Belmir's body, facing the howling wind and snow, almost forming an evenly matched counterattack. Dylan, who was walking in front, turned around and looked at Belmir, who had a black thunderous aura around him. Dylan. Belmir's eyes became determined, and his momentum continued to rise. I won't hesitate anymore. In the castle on the top of the mountain, Dr. Kulha looked at the black thunder in the mountains and sighed. It's true, both of them are like monsters. Tinder, you guys are not going to have a good time. As soon as Dylan and his group walked out of the mountains, a group of soldiers surrounded them. According to the king's decree, no one is allowed to seek medical treatment in the Drum Kingdom. You have violated the laws of this country. The guard looked at Dylan, who was tall, god-tier, and cold-hearted, and then looked at Belmir next to her. So what? So you will all be executed. Ha 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 ha. A fat man wearing a white bear hooded cloak stood behind the guards. The king of the Drum Kingdom, Wapol. The moment he saw Wapol, Belmir's expression turned cold. During the month she was recovering in the castle, she heard many rumors about this man. The main culprit that has made this country sick is this disgusting man in front of me. Dylan raised his hand, and the guards looked tense. Take action. Dylan pulled back his sleeve to reveal the phone bug inside. Here comes the work, help me find a fruit, munch munch fruit. In the phone bug, the masked image of CP0 showed a confused look. Munch munch fruit? Hasn't it been eaten by someone? Yes. But I heard that once the eater dies, the fruit will reappear somewhere in the world. Is that true? The Drum Kingdom is a member country of world government. CP0 shouldn't care about this. The problem is that you are not AFG CP0. You're Marine, BD. You can find excuses for the aftermath by yourself, and find the fruits for me as soon as possible. Well, then I will trade you some information about the Revolutionary Army, and that's all? What do you mean? Wait, information from the Revolutionary Army? CP0 looked at the phone bug who had closed his eyes and fell into deep thought. Drum Kingdom. Let him be. After disconnecting the phone bug, Dylan turned to look at Belmir. Go ahead and carry out your justice. Belmir stood next to Dylan and listened to the conversation between him and CP0. Upon hearing Dylan's words, Belmir's eyebrows rose and his body disappeared. Chapter 23. Looking at Wapol, who had completely lost his vital signs on the ground. The guards and the citizens in the distance were stunned for a moment, and then burst into shocking cheers. Wapol is dead. Our demons are over. Dylan walked towards the guards. Where is Dalton? Where is he being held? The leading guard swallowed his saliva. The woman seemed to be just his subordinate. In prison. Take me there. Dylan looked around. This country would be attacked by Teach again in a few years. Dalton. Dylan shook his head. Dalton was actually not a good choice. The guy was too kind. Whether as a warrior or a king, kindness is not an excellent quality. After all, this is the age of great pirates, and this is a great shipping route. Arriving at the dark prison, Dalton was imprisoned at the bottom. Let him out. Yes. The guards did not hesitate at all in the face of this man's order. Moreover, Dalton himself was innocent and deeply loved by them. The sturdy Dalton looked at the man outside the prison strangely. Who are you? Who I am is not important. What is important is, who are you? Who do you want to be? Dalton was confused for a moment. Not only was he kind, but he was also a little slow. Dylan shook his head again. Captain Dalton, King. No. Wapol has been executed. Dalton looked at Dylan solemnly. Although he was imprisoned here, he still believed in the rule of this country. After following Dylan out of the prison gate, Dalton finally couldn't help but asked, You? I have no interest in this kind of shabby country. To be honest, I can kill Wapol and leave. I have also said hello to the world government, which has no impact on me. I found you because you can barely count as me. People I know in this country. The wind and snow howled outside the door, and two tall people stood facing the wind and snow. Dalton, you know, what will the future of this country be like if I just leave? I don't know. Dalton thought for a moment and replied. No, you know. Dylan looked at the flying snow in the sky. If I just leave, then the fate of this country will justifiably fall into the hands of the celestial dragons. You people. Dylan shook his head. You are always begging for kindness and favors from others. To be honest, I don't like it very much. This was close to a sensitive point. Dalton remained silent and did not answer. Compared to Wapol, you're actually not much better. Dalton was a little surprised and didn't understand why this man said this. Dylan chuckled. Wapol's evil lies in his greed, corruption, and depravity. Your evil lies in incompetence and hypocrisy. The word hypocrisy struck Dalton's heart like a heavy hammer. Kindness is a noble quality for a people, but not for a king. Both of these things are fatal. Work hard, Dalton. I know the people here love you, so I'll give you a chance. I hope you can seize it. Dylan patted the snowflakes on his shoulders and walked forward. If you can't become stronger, face crises with your own strength, and use your strength to fight against the enemy, this country is really hopeless. Dalton, the former captain of the Drum Kingdom Guards and a user with the Neo Fruit ability. With the recommendation of the people and the acquiescence of the world government, he successfully became the king of the Drum Kingdom and renamed the country, Sakura Flower Kingdom. Sakula. An innocent and stupid name. Marie Joyce. CP0 left after reporting the situation in the Drum Kingdom. The five elders still pose enigmatically. The Drum Kingdom, no. Is now called the Sakura Flower Kingdom. Is Adams Dylan taking action against the government? It seems that Wapol provoked first. His original purpose was to go to Drum Island to heal his subordinates. Having said that, but as a marine. The blonde five elders crossed his fingers and crossed his legs. He has obtained the power of the small human race, which shows that Lord Im's guidance is correct. He is the enemy of Lamp, and the rights of the kingdom are nothing to worry about. Good. The five elders holding a long knife seconded the opinion. For hundreds of years, those ancient families and races have refused to submit to the world government. Some guys even prefer to be isolated from the world and wait for the return of the spark. Adams Dylan reached. He has achieved unprecedented success, and we should not hold him back at this time. Seconded. Seconded. G5 branch, half a year after returning from Drum Island. Hey, did that guy from Heavenly Yaksha complain about us to the headquarters again? Belmir held a cigarette in his mouth and threw the phone aside. That guy is doing underground business. I heard that his business is very broad, including arms, devil fruit, human trafficking, and even directly sending codders to participate in the struggle for political power. Dylan had his face covered with newspapers and ignored the chatter of his subordinates. I don't know why these guys like to chat in his office. Didn't I arrange an office for you? In the past 6 months, G5 has gradually started hunting. Although it was limited to the vicinity of the branch, it also caused a huge impact on the surrounding pirates. That man was the guy who single-handedly defeated the Red Hair pirates, Marine Vice Admiral Dark Dragon Dylan. And he also has a demon-like murderer under his command, Shiryu of the Rain. After a period of hunting, many pirates no longer choose this route. Joker business has also been severely affected. After all, it was okay to meet that pink-haired woman, at most she would be offline for a while. If I meet Shiryu, I will delete my account directly on the way to hunting. It is not that no one thought about focusing fire to kill Belmere. But when they think of Red Hair pirates, most people still choose to run away. It only took a few hours to rush from New World to West Blue, and then almost broke up the Red Hair pirates' ship, and the number 3 character was even killed in front of them. Listening to his subordinates talking about how bored they were recently, Dylan lifted the newspaper from his face. Take a trip to West Blue. After returning to the G5 branch 6 months ago, Dylan took the time to go back to East Blue and withdraw all the stolen money he had accumulated over the years. I have to say that it would be nice to have a space ring. In the huge castle, his collection is neatly arranged. At the top are the 2 devil fruits whose owners have yet to be chosen. The purpose of going to the Kingdom of Flowers this time is to eliminate the 8 treasures navy. By the way, let's take a look at what's in the Great Glacier and why the red-haired guy went against his usual style and attacked Marine directly. A&D. The treasures in the ice continent. As a Marine, is it reasonable for me to confiscate the stolen money from pirates? Tom. Take care of your home and protect Man's heli. Leave it to me, the loud one. Tom laughed. Dylan is still very relieved about Tom's strength. At this stage, except for the 4 emperors and their lieutenants, there should be very few people who can directly defeat Tom. Of course, those hidden bastards, such as Golden Lion or something, are not excluded. Vice Admiral. We can't fly from here to the Land of Flowers. Everyone looks strange. Although the G5 ship was a standard marine, it might not be possible to reach the Flower Country from the New World within 2 or 3 months. Boat. Dylan touched his chin and looked at Tom, who was teasing Sher Ryman in the base. The world's best shipbuilder is under his command, but unfortunately, there are no good materials now. Damn it, Roger, where did you get all those adamantium trees? How about letting CP0 do some for himself, or Brother Ming? Aunt? Let's wait until we get munch fruit. Regarding his own car, Dylan already has a plan and is not in a hurry at the moment. After all, there are still a few years until the big event breaks out. Chapter 24. In the end, the group boarded the CP0 unique ship. It seems that he spends a lot of time with Aokiji, and Dylan also likes to lie on the deck chair and soak up the Sunday. I asked, why are you always hanging around? Are you investigating me? Looking at the familiar masked man, Dylan asked through the newspaper. CP0 sat cross-legged on the bow. It's normal to investigate you. The CP organization itself is responsible for monitoring the movements of the entire sea, and Marine is certainly included. Tisk, you guy, shouldn't you say what you are going to say next? If your Marine can't solve the case, I'll solve it. If you Marine can't kill it, I'll kill it. In a word, if Marine can handle it, I'll take care of it. Marine will take care of it. I have to take care of those who can't. The Imperial power has granted permission to kill first and then report later. It's CP. I bow my head just thinking about it. The area I'm responsible for is the front end of the New World. However, the target of the recent investigation is not you. In fact, the investigation of Dylan has been taken over by other members, and the main task he currently receives is to cooperate with Dylan's needs. This sounds ridiculous. After all, CP is rated the same as Marine in terms of level classification, but a CP0, it is higher than Marine in a sense, not to mention that Dylan is only a Vice Admiral. But that was the order he received. Due to the good qualities cultivated by the CP organization since childhood, he did not dare to have too many doubts. Your ship seems to be very special, the power system. Feeling the speed of the CP ship, Dylan listened for a while and then asked CP0 a question. It's the technology provided by Vegapunk. Is it really that guy? Vegapunk, apart from his superior IQ, where does his background come from? But speaking of it, why has CP become more and more talkative recently? There is no such thing as you have no right to directly mobilize CP members. 5 elders? Or I'm? He went to the land of flowers. New world, red hair pirates. Shanks stared at the slightly blurred phone bug. For what purpose? We don't know yet. According to our guess, it was because your abnormal reaction last time attracted his attention. Shanks smiled bitterly. Not only did Usopp lose, but the guide in the glacier would also be in danger of being exposed. The phone caller on the other side fell silent, seeming to be waiting for Shanks' decision. Hidden. If his purpose is just the 8 treasures navy or their wealth, then it can be completely discarded. But if he investigates deeply, I'm afraid this alone may not be enough. Then, let's judge based on the actual situation. Once he touches there, we must lure him away at the expense of some flags. Understood. After saying that, the phone bug closed his eyes. Shanks looked in the direction of West Blue, covering his left chest with his right hand. Last time at the border of the Kingdom of Flowers, he took most of the damage caused by Kuei Nu, and he still had a dull pain on the left side of his chest. Dark Dragon, why would a man like you become our enemy? The Land of Flowers. Dylan sets foot on the ground, Belmir and Shiryu followed. Aren't you going back? Why are you following me all day? Dylan looked at CP0 holding the mask next to him. Why do you think I want to follow you? If it weren't for 5 elders' orders. The Kingdom of Flowers seems to be involved in some strange events. The higher UPS know that I am with you, so I stopped by to investigate. Sneaky, don't hold me back. Also, don't have any evil intentions, otherwise I will kill you even if you are a partner. From the border all the way to the ice continent, the bandit groups that originally gathered in the mountains and forests of the Kingdom of Flowers seem to have disappeared. Is the schedule under control? Dylan touched his chin and looked at CP0, it seems that your workability needs to be improved. CP0 can only pretend to be deaf to this. Espionage work itself is like this, you have me, I have you. However, this trip was arranged by me personally, and it was actually leaked so completely. Is there something wrong inside CP0, or is it G5? CP0 prefers the latter. Right. That must be it. 8 treasures navy, bang. Dylan was carrying Shura, and he didn't care much. After all, King Jiao's head was hammered flat by Garp. It can be said that he has made no progress in more than 30 years and no longer poses a threat. The only thing that needs attention is whether the fate of this world will correct itself. Dylan himself is also very conflicted. On the one hand, he does not want to be directly hostile to the Straw Hats in the future, so he is interfering with the future trajectory of the Straw Hats in many aspects. Belmir, Tom, the regime of Drum Island, even the little humans of Dressrosa and now the Babao Navy. These are all part of the future Straw Hat fleet or people directly related to its core members. But on the other hand, out of some underlying hope, he vaguely expected Straw Hat to grow up. The two ideas collided with each other, but most of the time, Dylan still followed his own will. The world doesn't need pirates. At least we don't need pirates to save us. The ice continent has arrived. Shiryu still maintains the same dressing habits as when he was working at Impel Down, but changed the buttons to specially made G5 letters. The last time he was around here, he slashed Lucky Lu, but was then seriously injured by the red-haired slash. If it weren't for the powerful vitality support of the Ashura fruit, Shiryu might have died on the spot. But Shiryu's hand was on the scabbard of Thunderstorm. It was precisely because of that battle that he faintly felt something different. Blood of Ashura, challenge the strong? Shiryu stood behind Dylan and looked at the man who was shorter than him. While she was getting stronger, she felt more and more distant from him. This distance is different from the intense sense of crisis when facing the redhead. It is a completely different feeling. If I have to describe it, I feel like I have fallen into boundless darkness and nothingness, and I have no way of struggling. Go break it. Dylan's voice interrupted Shiryu's thoughts. Under the ice continent, countless dazzling treasures shine. Broke in. The first person to ask was Belmir. The ice layer was at least dozens of meters thick, right? What to use to break it open? Use your head? Shiryu stepped forward past Belmir and drew Thunderstorm. After measuring the thickness of the ice, Shiryu jumped up from the ice. In midair, Shiryu held Thunderstorm with both hands and slashed towards the ice. The moment the huge cyan slash hit the ice, large amounts of broken ice and mist were raised. When the scene calmed down, everyone looked towards the location of the attack. Only this much power. A gully more than 10 meters deep appeared in front of everyone. Belmir turned to look at Shiryu. With this guy's strength, it shouldn't be. There's something wrong with the ice. Shiryu withdrew Thunderstorm, seemingly not planning to attack again. Dylan stepped forward and knocked on the ice. Indeed, there is no such problem as global warming here. The ice on the ice continent has lasted for countless years and is comparable to metal in terms of hardness. After thinking for a moment, Dylan turned back. Hey, do you want to leave? Of course not, Dylan covered armament haki with his right hand and said to Belmir, this is your training project during this period, the advanced use of armed colors internal destruction. Before everyone understood, Dylan's right hand was inserted into the ice like tofu. As the power was poured into it, the originally natural ice began to make a click sound. Drink! With a loud shout, the entire ice bed seemed to be torn open by a big hand, and an abyss more than 10 meters wide extended from Dylan's position. Is this a monster? Belmir murmured. How do you talk? Dylan stood up, clapped his hands and pursed his lips toward the back. I'll leave the rest to you. Not only Belmir, but also Shiryu and CP0 looked at Dylan. If, as he said, this is just an advanced use of weapon colors, then... Dylan took out a blanket from the ring and sat on the ground looking at the three people with burning eyes. Actually, it's not entirely correct to say that. Every power used in Ultimate is very powerful, and their specific functions are also different, so there are no high-level and low-level ones. For example, armed colors, the conventional uses are hardening, entangling. By putting this out there, we become internally disruptive. Internal destruction is just a more detailed mastery of the power of armament haki. It does not mean that it is more advanced. For example, even if Belmir has mastered this power, it is still no match when facing the hardened coverage of Tom's armor. Hey! Don't say such hurtful words casually, okay? Belmir protested loudly. Of course, at the same intensity, the destructive power of this power is very considerable. Dylan glanced at Belmir, tangle haki and attack me, and then feel it. Then you have to be careful. Belmir pressed her joints with excitement on her face, and the armor color was instantly covered. Tempest kick. Joduan. Just when Belmir's heel was about to touch Dylan, Dylan raised his hand and haki flowed. Boom! In the snow in the distance, Belmir looked confused. He obviously made no move to attack. Shiryu and CP0 next to them also looked surprised. They only saw the moment when Belmir's heel touched Dylan's palm, as if it encountered some rebound force, and then flew out. Rebound is just a form of expression. The real power lies in its destructive power. The first thing you have to do is to let haki flow. Belmir, who returned to Dylan, raised her hand in confusion. Flow. Flow. Armed color covers and dissipates, cover and dissipate. Damn it! How can something like this flow? Boom! There was a sound of ground, and Belmir punched the ice. On the bearskin rocking chair next to him, Dylan rocked and said, your strength threshold limits you and you are destined not to become a monster like Tom, so you have to spend more time on your skills. Relying purely on brute force is not a very good thing. Wise choice. Dylan shook his head and looked at the three people who were confused on the ice field. Shiryu and CP0 are also trying to master this power. Three pairs of eyes full of curiosity looked towards him. Dylan stretched out his hand to meet the falling snowflakes in the sky. When the snowflakes were about to fall on his palm, they seemed to encounter resistance and bounced away from his palm. Flow, think about it, what is flow? Rivers, blood, breeze, are all flows, so how should haki flow? Belmir looked at Dylan's palm thoughtfully, and Shiryu and CP0 also seemed to have gained something. Dylan lay down again, enjoying the daylight on the ice sheet. Chapter 25. I succeeded. When the sun set in the west, a cheer came. Belmir's palms were upward, and the snowflakes falling in the sky fell to both sides the moment they came into contact with his palms. Shiryu, who was not far away, opened his mouth in disbelief. Among the three of them, was she really the one who mastered it first? Seeing Dylan lying unmoved on the rocking chair, Shiryu was shocked. Not only was that man's strength bottomless, but he also... You don't call that success, you should call it entry. Dylan's drawled voice came. What, shouldn't we be encouraged at this time? Are you infected by Kuzan? Dylan turned his body to the side. When you can break through this ice and get the treasure inside, you will be considered proficient in using the weapon color. How can? Belmir was about to retort, but the huge abyss ahead was winding away with no end in sight. Damn it! Belmir stamped his foot. Obviously everyone is just human beings. Will this guy know how to practice since he was born? How on earth is it done? Today's Belmir is no longer the ordinary marine that East Blue was. During the few months of training in the headquarters and nearly a year in the G5 branch, her vision has become very broad. Same as Shiryu. The more she saw, the more she felt how mysterious and powerful this man was. After calming down, Belmir began to think again about how to destroy the seemingly exaggeratedly large ice layer. Dylan turned his back to them and smiled. With the strength of the three of them, it would be difficult to destroy the ice continent just by relying on emission. Some additional skills are required, such as the 8 punches of the 8 treasure navy, or the dragon hook claw of Sabo in the future. Somewhere in the world. Are you still near the big glacier? Yes, his knowledge is very powerful, so we can only roughly know that he is still near the Babao Navy's secret dot. What on earth is that man doing there? Can't he break the ice continent with his power? What about after the flow? Dylan looked at the 3 pairs of curious eyes in front of him. In terms of talent alone, except for the level of Pirate Emperor, the 3 people in front of me are almost all top-notch. But they all lack one very important thing, imagination. Dylan stood up and led the 3 people to a huge iceberg. Don't stick to the form. It is very difficult to create a lot of power from scratch. But once you have a start, it is easy to extend. What you lack now, apart from accumulating experience and application, is the greatest. The problem is a lack of imagination. CP0 raised his mask. Imagination. Feel my breath. Dylan walked up to the iceberg and raised his hand to the ice. Buzz. Kaka, kaka. Boom. A loud noise startled Belmir and the others. When they recovered, the ice surface in contact with Dylan's palm was intact, but a huge circular gap appeared on the back of the ice surface. Beyond the flow, is it rotation? Dylan rolled his eyes at him. I told you not to stick to a certain form. In addition to rotation, can't it be spread? Can't penetrate? Can't vibrate? Can't impact? Can't condense? The first to realize it was Shiryu. After attaching Haki to Thunderstorm, he began to control Haki's flow. Then came CP0. After instilling Haki on his fingers and letting them flow, CP0 began to press his fingers against the ice. Click! A small crack opened in the ice. Belmir looked left and right before scratching her hair in distress. Did these guys think of a direction that suits them so quickly? Seeing Dylan looking at him with a half-smile, Belmir slapped his palms and sat down to think. What kind of fighting style suits you? What kind of power is suitable for you? This man would rarely do something so seemingly aimless, even though it was a bit unbelievable. But Belmir always feels that armed color is not the end. In fact, in the conversation just now, Dylan has basically summarized the usage of emission to them. In addition to the actual demonstration of Raise Nan, the shock is a power similar to shock fruit. Impact is the core of Babao Navy's Bachong Fist. If you want to destroy the ice continent, you can achieve it by mastering any of these methods. However, the skills involved cannot be described clearly by words alone. On the ice not far away, Belmir sat cross-legged with his back to everyone. Dylan nuzzled at Shiryu and CP0. The two looked at each other and then quietly moved a distance away. Belmir definitely has no shortage of combat experience. But he lacks the experience to compete with the masters. Therefore, her fighting vision is limited by ordinary people's moves. If this level of ice were replaced by Tom. Dylan was lying on the rocking chair, just a little sleepy, when the ice surface suddenly started to tremble. Kaka, kaka. In the distance, Belmir's right hand is stuck in the ice, with a serious expression. Drink. Kakaka. The ice of the ice continent breaks. Shiryu, I understand everything. CP0, turn it off, it's boring. Looking at the mountains of treasure piled under the ice, Dylan jumped from the edge of the crack. Are you just going to let them take away the wealth accumulated by the Babao Navy for generations? Chief Qing Jiao, whose head had been smashed by Garp, looked at the cracked ice continent and remained silent. No one else asked further. After all, the man came in person, and they didn't even have the courage to face him directly. After receiving the notice, the Babao navy withdrew from the surrounding area overnight. Although the country of flowers is also one of the countries that joins the world government, its regime has been cultivating bandit groups such as the 8 Treasure Navy Army all year round to plunder everywhere. Therefore, although the country of flowers is a big country in the West Blue, its diplomacy is very weak. Raising robbers is something you can do, but you can't talk about it. Therefore, the royal family of the Flower Kingdom was unable to complain to the world government and could only complain to naval headquarters about Dylan's overstepping of law enforcement. When the Marine Inspection Department called Dylan turned his head and glanced at CP0 next to him. Tell the royal family of the Flower King that if you keep nagging, Lao Zi will go back now and kill all their bastards. CP0 was silent for a moment, seeming to be thinking about how to describe this text. After the caller was connected, CP0 said to the caller, "Shut them up." After spending nearly a month returning to G5, Dylan finally couldn't stand the speed of sailing. "Where's Lao Zi's munch fruit?" CP0 spread his hands to indicate that there was no news. Dylan rolled his eyes at him and took out the phone bug. Mom, what a surprise, you actually come to me. There's no other way. I can't count on these losers like CP, so I can only trade with you." Dylan stared at the fat face of the phone bug. "Oh? A deal? What do you want?" "Brother Marine, no. Dark Dragon Vice Admiral. Munch fruit, the last ability user was killed by me more than 2 months ago, and CP still hasn't found the fruit." "Are you sure?" Lin. Mom, no one can guarantee 100% of this kind of thing, but if you find it, what are you going to do in exchange for it? What do you want? Don't open your mouth like a lion, Lin. The two people with opposite identities and who had never met before chatted like friends, leaving the CP next to them in a daze. After the two of them finished chatting, they glanced at CP0. "Whoever finds it first will trade. It's fair." CP0 roared in his heart. "Is that what I mean? I mean, why do you, Marine, Vice Admiral, actually have a deal with the Pirate Emperor, and it seems like this isn't the first time?" But CP0 still didn't dare to ask this question, since Dylan dared to call like this in front of him. At the very least, it means that the 5 elders already know about this. In other words, Dylan doesn't care if the 5 elders know it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you're notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.